Dare you believe it? This little girl is actually the king of the sea. However, upon coming to land, she not only lost all her power, but was so weak she was even chased by rabbits throwing stones. Even so, the reason she insisted on coming to land was that she heard there was a powerful demon king on land. So powerful that humans had resisted him for 100 years, yet hadn't even scratched the door of the demon king's castle. This aroused her competitive nature. Therefore, Yulia used the Sea Clan's holy relic necklace to successfully evolve legs and gain the ability to survive on land. However, upon arriving on land, Yulia discovered that her power was completely sealed. Not only could she not beat a rabbit, but she also had to survive by eating grass every day. What was even more ridiculous was that the holy relic necklace couldn't be removed at all. Even when she returned to the sea, her power showed no signs of returning. However, this couldn't stump the former Sea King, Yulia. After a period of living by picking up trash, Yulia was able to make small traps and hunt rabbits to exchange for money. Every magic rabbit would drop a magic crystal after death, and each magic crystal could be exchanged for 2 copper coins. 2 copper coins could buy several of Yulia's favorite mackerels. The remaining money even allowed Yulia to make a barely delicious lunch. However, just as Yulia was immersing herself in the delicious food and satisfied with the change in her life, her hand suddenly stopped. The next second, Yulia flipped the table directly. Wait, how could I be so complacent? Clearly, she could only hunt 3 rabbits a day, and 3 rabbits could be exchanged for 6 copper coins. But the 3 meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner also cost 6 copper coins. She, the dignified king of the sea, was actually living a life where she earned just enough to get by each day. Thinking of this, Yulia learned from her pain and felt she couldn't continue without ambition like this. Remembering that today was the day of the town festival, Yulia decided to go to the festival to take a look. However, by the time she arrived in town, the festival was already over and there was no one there. But at this moment, the voices of a few people caught Yulia's attention. Yulia crouched to the side and looked forward, discovering that these people were the group led by Wuss, whom she had heard passers-by refer to as heroes during the day. The town festival seemed to have been held for the arrival of Wuss and his group. And at this moment, Wuss and the others were discussing a legend. It was said that in a hidden tomb, a legendary demon slaying sword was buried, and there were countless gold and silver treasures in the tomb. Yulia also heard that Wuss seemed to already have a clue about this location. Hearing this, Yulia knew that the chance to change her destiny was right in front of her. Therefore, Yulia stealthily followed directly behind the departing group. Soon, Wuss's group arrived at an abandoned cave. After marching in the cave for a while, Wuss's eyes lit up as he whispered, "Looks like we came to the right place." And what appeared before everyone's eyes was an extraordinary ancient castle. However, just as everyone was sizing up this magnificent space, a person appeared in a dark corner. However, after his gaze swept over Yulia, he retreated back into the darkness. At this time, Yulia, who had followed them all the way, still hadn't been discovered. But the eerie atmosphere around her made her hesitate a bit. She could feel that this place might not be a treasure trove full of treasures, but a dangerous place full of crises. And just then, a creaking sound came from the darkness. Only Yulia, with her keen hearing, heard this sound, and Yulia recognized that it was the stone door, which was originally open when they entered the ancient castle, slowly closing. At this moment, Yulia had 2 choices. Either leave now before the stone door closed, or stay here and continue to check if there was any treasure. With a thought, Yulia made a decision. But just as the loud sound of the door closing rang out, was turned around and saw that there was actually an extra person behind his group. Yulia was frozen at this moment. She had already decided to slip away first, but her body hadn't kept up with her brain. Seeing Yulia, Wuss directly drew his sword and was about to ask who Yulia was. At this moment, the blue-haired woman on the side interjected. She seemed to have seen Yulia in town. Hearing this, Yulia quickly nodded, bluntly stating that she had seen the heroes while attending the festival. Because she admired their heroic figures, she wanted to look at them a bit more, so she followed them here. Seeing Yulia's harmless appearance and lack of any threatening aura, Wuss didn't make things difficult for Yulia. He told Yulia to hurry back on her own. Hearing this, Yulia dared not stay. But, excuse me, can you help me open the stone door? Wuss had no objection, but when he used force, the stone door didn't budge. And no matter how he tried, the stone door showed no sign of opening. Seeing this, Wuss's expression changed. He wanted to ask Yulia if she had inadvertently closed the main door, but this door seemed to have closed by itself. Therefore, while Wuss was still pondering the meaning behind this, he heard Yulia say, "Why don't you ask your companion over there to help? He looks relatively reliable." Everyone was stunned. There were just the three of them, whereas any other companion. Following Yulia's finger, they saw that something seemed to have appeared in the darkness. In an instant, Wuss's face changed drastically. He actually sensed a killing intent. But in the next second, a person suddenly appeared in front of him, pressing the long sword in his hand back into its scabbard. "Don't waste your energy. Prepare to meet your death." However, in an instant, another sword light flashed. It was Wuss's teammate coming to support. But what was there just now was only a phantom. That blue hair had appeared unharmed in his original spot. The next second, the blue-haired woman in Wuss's team held her staff, instantly thrusting towards the blue-haired man. "Although I don't know where you come from, you picked the wrong opponent." Hearing this, the blue-haired man smiled and simply said, "Is that so?" In an instant, a pair of giant black wings appeared, flapping with intense pressure. He immediately pressed the blue-haired woman back to the ground. Seeing this, Yulia simply thought, "So he's not a companion." Looking at that blue-haired man, Wuss's group was shocked. They didn't expect that in a place so far from the battlefield, there would be a demon. At the same time, feeling that the other party was also surprised to encounter their group in such a place. Was proposed. In the past, the conflict between humans and demons has always been concentrated on the designated battlefield. Now that both our sides have come here with our own purposes, why don't we pause the fighting and turn our attention to entering this place? Hearing this, Blue Hair smiled. "Your tone seems quite arrogant." At this moment, Wuss also understood that the other party didn't intend to stop. Fine then. After all, on the battlefield, we only learned how to solve the problem of demons. Hearing that Wuss intended to fight him to the death, but my target isn't you. At this time, Yulia was still calculating when to run away. But the next second, Wuss shouted angrily, "What do you want to do? She's just a child." But Blue Hair had already arrived behind Yulia. "Looks like you're wearing a human skin." As soon as the words fell, with a splash, the demon's arm pierced through Yulia's body. This king of the sea came to land for the first time, but unexpectedly turned directly into a little lowly. What was even more unexpected to her was that after coming ashore, all her strength was sealed. Not only could she not beat a rabbit, but she was even chased everywhere by rabbits. Even to maintain her life, she could only pick up trash and live next to a dilapidated tent. But on this day, Yulia's life took a turn. She accidentally heard a group of people discussing a treasure location. In order to escape poverty and live the rich life of a wealthy woman, Yulia immediately decided to follow the group to that treasure location. But unexpectedly, after arriving at the treasure location, the group encountered a powerful demon who had also come to hunt for treasure. The demon saw through Yulia, who was hiding among the crowd, and contained extraordinary power at a glance. To prevent future trouble, the demon acted first and took out Yulia. After taking out Yulia, the demon crushed the others like slicing melons and vegetables. He even didn't forget to mock, "I didn't expect you to have prepared a secret weapon, but unfortunately, I killed it in advance." But as the words fell, seeing the surprise in the eyes of the blonde man beneath his feet, the demon realized that these people actually didn't know what Yulia's true identity was. But regardless, Yulia was already dead. The thing that could pose a threat to him was gone. And at this time, the dying Yulia only felt her vision blurring. Although she felt there were still things unfinished, she was so tired she gradually closed her eyes. But just at this moment, the necklace sealing her power in front of Yulia's chest began to glow. At the same time, the exact same colors flashed in Yulia's eyes. A voice instantly echoed in Yulia's heart, only 3 times. As the voice faded, the demon on the side suddenly felt a pressure appear behind him. He looked back, only to see Yulia, who should have been killed by him, actually standing up again. And in his moment of distraction, the blonde man he was stepping on had vanished. He had already been rescued to the side by his teammates. Turning back again, Yulia had surprisingly disappeared. Her movement was wrong. It wasn't disappearing, but that fellow was moving at a rapid speed. By the time the demon reacted again, Yulia had already raised her fist and appeared in front of him. The next second, a punch was thrown, shattering rocks and cracking the ground. Amidst the loud boom, a large cloud of dust rose. But when the demon appeared again, half of his body was gone. At this moment, the demon was shocked. Although he quickly repaired his body, the opponent's power far exceeded his expectations. He couldn't help but remember the first time he saw Yulia. At that time, he just took a quick glance from the shadows. Yet his palms were uncontrollably covered in sweat, and what filled his heart was actually an emotion named fear. At this time, Yulia had revealed her form in the dust. Although she wasn't clear why her lost power suddenly returned, this feeling was nice, and it seemed to have something to do with this brat. You seem very curious about who I am, boy. In that case, have you ever heard of the king who lives in the sea? Hearing this, the demon smiled. If you are the sea king, then am I the strongest on land? The demon king? Yulia hooked her finger and instantly appeared in front of the demon. Then you're in luck. My purpose for coming ashore is to defeat the demon king on land. In an instant, the demon was knocked flying again. At this moment, his heart was panicking a bit. Yulia's speed was wrong. Or rather, that gesture Yulia's made him feel extremely terrified. At this time, Yulia hooked her finger again. The demon actually found himself floating up. At this moment, he finally understood. It wasn't that the opponent was fast enough to get close to him, but that he was forcibly pulled to the opponent's side. My opponent is only the demon king. A small fry like you should just exit the stage. But just at this moment, a streak of black light rose beneath Yulia's feet. The next second, a black whirlwind directly engulfed Yulia. Yulia thought this kid couldn't beat her and was trying to run away using this trick. Unexpectedly, in the next instant, the demon broke through the air, instantly attacking Yulia's back. However, Yulia's reaction was extremely fast. In a flash, she had turned around and reached out to block the attack. Precisely. Instantly, another loud boom rang out. The demon whispered, "How is my power? Do you still think I'm a small character? You have some skill, but not much. You're quite arrogant, though." In an instant, the two disappeared from their spots again. In a fierce fight, Yulia directly pressed the demon to the ground and hammered his head. Sensing the battle waves that far exceeded common sense, the black-haired woman whispered, "Red eyes, black eyes." The blue-haired woman wanted to ask what she was talking about, but heard Wuss say, "This is a nursery rhyme about demons circulating in my and Anna's hometown. The most classic characteristic is crimson eyes and pitch-black eyes. Other than that, they are exactly the same as humans." Hearing this, the blue-haired woman felt Wuss had been beaten silly. Current demons didn't look like that at all. But Wuss said he was talking about the description of demons by humans when they first saw demons countless years ago. Anna added at the same time, at that time, humans didn't have the term demon race yet. Calling them the ancient race would be more appropriate. And the ancient race has a characteristic. Their power is directly proportional to the time they've lived. Although it's just speculation, the current strongest on land, the Demon King, is very likely a person who has survived until now. And besides the Demon King, although there are only records, it is said that there are also little people and half human, half demons in the world. And without exception, their lives powerful to the extreme. And if that blue-haired demon is really an ancient demon who has lived from who knows how many years ago until now, then this battle is not something we can intervene in. At this moment, was swallowed and said, "So, who on earth is that young girl who is almost crushing the demon? By the way, where were we? Ah, the sky cannot accommodate two sons called kings." But at this moment, the demon couldn't care less about listening to Yulia's rambling. His regeneration speed couldn't keep up with the damage Yulia dealt in several heavy blows. If he continued fighting, he would definitely die. So now he had to run. But his speed was not as fast as Yulia's either. What if he took those humans as hostages? But this guy wasn't human at all. She probably wouldn't care. Damn it. At this moment, the demon panicked. He even had the thought of begging for mercy. But he just couldn't think of a way out. At this time, I say, "Are you listening to me, boy?" I just got to the interesting part. But the next second, the demon suddenly pulled away. Don't get carried away, you fellow. Seeing the demon flip-flopping with just these few moves, Yulia smiled. You really are a useless small character. The next second, Yulia's aura exploded, directly crushing the surrounding black mist. Immediately after, a punch hit the demon's chest. In an instant, a violent explosion overflowed from the mountaintop. Then a pillar of light pierced through the sky. In a flash, the clouds rolled and relaxed. In an instant, the color of the world changed, and it actually started pouring rain. Yulia sensed her slightly trembling palm. Just now, she used a full power strike. But she didn't kill that demon. Instead, she felt the power she had finally regained slowly disappearing again. Sensing this, Yulia simply said to the side, "I will lose my power very soon. Take your companions and run quickly." At this time, Wuss was curled up on the side, not daring to make a sound at all. Yulia walked towards another mountain wall. "Looks like I need to finish this quickly." And in front of Yulia, the demon was lying weakly on the ground. "Any last words? Even if I beg you to spare my life, you won't agree, right?" "Of course." Yulia raised her fist. At this moment, the demon closed his eyes tightly, his heart nervous to the extreme. But hearing a soft paw sound, what hit the demon's face was a light punch. The demon just wanted to say, "What's the situation?" At this time, Yulia looked calm on the surface, but inside she was panicked like an old dog. Her power actually disappeared at this critical moment. "Did you change your mind and want to spare my life?" While Yulia's face remained unmoved, her brain was spinning fast. Immediately she said, "Correct. I can spare your life, but I have two conditions." Thus, when the rain stopped and the sky cleared, Wuss raised his head and gratefully said goodbye to Yulia. Although he still looked in Yulia's direction with some fear, Wuss still asked for his benefactor's name. After getting Yulia's name, Wuss stated that since the benefactor saved his life, if there was anything in the future, just find him and he would help. Saying that, he prepared to leave with his companions. After waving goodbye, Yulia said, "Let's go too. This is a new journey." And beneath Yulia was the subdued demon. "If you agree to be someone's subordinate, but you regret it, what should you do?" This man was an incomparably powerful demon not long ago. But after being defeated by the stronger pink hair, in order to survive, he could only agree to be pink hair subordinate. But after signing the contract, not only was all his strength sealed, but a weird scar was also left on his face. Therefore, he regretted it so much that he wanted to kill pink hair to lift the contract on himself. However, even though both he and pink hair were in a state where their powers were sealed, he tried to attack several times, but was beaten up by pink hair instead. But blue hair didn't intend to give up just like that. "Just don't let me catch a chance. Otherwise, I will definitely make pink hair pay." At this time, Yulia also regretted it in her heart. She should have taken blue hair's life back then. After defeating blue hair, seeing that blue hair's strength was decent and could be taken as a subordinate, she was quite happy. However, because her own power was only accessible under specific conditions, to prevent blue hair from rebelling against her, she sealed blue hair's power. Who would have thought that after this guy's strength was sealed, he indeed posed no threat to her, but he also became a useless person. The most fatal thing was that Yulia could earn 6 copper coins a day before. After blue hair came, the two of them still earned 6 copper coins a day, but there was one more mouth to feed. If they didn't scavenge for some unwanted fruits everywhere every day, they would have starved long ago. What made Yulia even more speechless was that she could always sense a subtle resentment from blue hair. This meant that this guy was still waiting for an opportunity to betray her. Under internal trouble and external aggression, Yulia could only think this guy shouldn't be that stupid. After all, blue hair can't beat me. But no, feeling this guy's resentment, this guy seems to be a fool. And just then, "Stop, you two fruit-stealing thieves." Yulia and the other turned back to look. Good heavens, it turned out the two of them had been freeloading from one family's orchard, provoking the other party's pursuit. Seeing this, Yulia quickly shouted, "Split up and run." But seeing the direction Yulia was fleeing, blue hair quickly shouted, "Yulia, don't go there. There's an ambush there." But it was too late. Two big men jumped out from the grass, already spreading a large net towards Yulia. However, seeing the overwhelming net, Yulia didn't panic at all. The next second, the net was empty. Yulia had already arrived behind the men, and with a bounce, she jumped high, easily getting rid of everyone's encirclement. Although her power disappeared again after the seal was lifted last time, fortunately, her speed didn't seem to decay much. Leaving only a Sin and See You at home, Yulia had already run almost out of sight. So, back at the small tent they lived in, Yulia and the other ate their spoils of war. But just then, a mole appeared beside the two. It was the mole courier, Ili Moly. Yulia didn't expect someone to send her a delivery. She quickly walked into the tent to open and check it. However, unexpectedly, there was only a sword in the package. What was even more ridiculous was that this sword was a broken sword without a blade. As for the letter, it was sent by Wuss. Blue Hair wanted to ask who the sender was. Yulia replied directly, "The person who hates you the most in the world." The content of the letter was that Wuss had returned to the battlefield to resist the demons, and firmly believed that one day, everyone would witness the strength of Yulia's power. At the same time, to thank Yulia again, he specially presented an ornamental sword as a gift. This sword should be able to exchange for 20 gold coins at the auction house. Hearing this, Yulia was shocked. She quickly told Blue Hair to be careful and not to break the sword. But mentioning gold coins, Yulia suddenly thought, when her strength recovered earlier, she seemed to have collapsed that location where the treasure was buried. Didn't this mean her dream of being a wealthy woman was shattered? Arriving at the auction house, "Sorry, we don't accept this kind of trash goods." Thus, on the other side, was received a letter from Yulia via courier. The content of the letter was, "I have received your delivery. I don't know if you got hurt in the war-torn place, but I hope you can protect your head well, until I personally come and take it." At this moment, the blue-haired woman held a magnificent sword and said, "Isn't this the gift we were going to give Yulia?" Seeing this, Wuss was numb. Damn it. Then what was the sword he sent to Yulia? Did he send the wrong one? But for a while, having no money was also a very painful thing. This pink hair, because she could only earn 2 copper coins a day, had already started worrying about her desolate old age. At this time, she actually noticed her little brother dawdling on the side. Yulia walked forward and wanted to ask what he was doing, but was asked by Blue Hair what these posted papers meant. Because Blue Hair only started contacting humans after his power was sealed, Yulia explained. These are tasks posted by people in need, asking for help, but most of them are to repel monsters. We 2 weak chickens can't eat this bowl of rice. Therefore, Yulia left in distress, and once again worried about how to solve dinner. But just then, with a ripping sound, Blue Hair actually tore off a request and bluntly stated that this mission was quite suitable for them. The mission content was to conduct a demon investigation on a place called the Sunken Forest. The two happened to be good at escaping, so this mission wasn't bad. However, Yulia was curious why no one took this mission before, and the paper posting the mission was also very old. Blue Hair laughed. Maybe that person didn't have money to pay. Yulia wanted to say how is that possible, but seeing that the mission was only for 1 gold coin, Yulia suddenly felt Blue Hair made sense. Thinking that completing the mission would allow them to eat a good meal, the two quickly headed to the Sunken Forest. But what the two didn't know was that after a person saw the request torn off the wall, they couldn't help but think someone dared to take the Sunken Forest mission too. Looks like the missing persons count is going to increase again. On the way to the Sunken Forest, Yulia was still regretting. If she hadn't collapsed the mountain where the treasure was buried earlier, she might have been able to live the life of a wealthy woman. But Blue Hair harmed people. There was no treasure in that mountain at all. Hearing this, Yulia was stunned. You weren't there to find treasure? Why did you appear there? Was it something like escaping reality? Are you telling the truth, boy? Lord Yulia, my keen sense of smell smelled the scent of a life reversal from there. Blue Hair ignored Yulia, but saw a rabbit by the roadside looking at him. Damn it, after his power was sealed, even a rabbit dared to look down on him. And what was with that look that seemed to despise him? Just as Blue Hair was about to explode, he saw the rabbit jump into the grass. Yulia wanted to ask what was wrong, but heard Blue Hair say it was nothing. But as soon as he finished saying this, rustling sounds came from the grass. The next second, a group of rabbits along with a bear actually appeared in front of the two. Things seemed to have become a bit troublesome. So, the place we're going to is called the Sunken Forest, right? It feels like there aren't any demonic beasts. Blue Hair nodded and heard Yulia say, does that mean once we get there, those guys behind us won't chase me anymore? Hearing this, Blue Cat could only agree hesitantly. However, just as Yulia and he continued to flee, a light suddenly lit up beneath their feet. Before Yulia could figure out what was happening, there was a loud bang. Yulia crashed into a transparent wall, instantly tumbling 3 or 4 times from the impact. Seeing this, Yulia was dumbfounded. He wanted to ask what was going on, but saw 2 people approaching from the side, apologizing and saying they just wanted to save them. The twin-tailed lowly said that beasts couldn't enter her subordinate's barrier. They could rest assured. Besides, she felt it would be too pitiful to kill those beasts. So, they should wait until the beasts got tired before going out. Yulia steadied himself, only to hear the man ask, are you going to the Silent Forest? Upon receiving confirmation, The man couldn't help but say with relief, "It's a good thing I stopped you. Otherwise you too would be in trouble." At this moment, the twin-tailed lowly said that they were also going there and asked if they wanted to go together. Yulia naturally had no objection, but wondered why they wanted to go with him. Hearing this, the twin-tailed lowly said embarrassedly that it was because they were lost and didn't know how to get to the silent forest. Hearing this, Yulia exclaimed, "What a coincidence, because they were lost too." That's right, being chased by beasts earlier caused Yulia and his companion to lose track of where they were. Anyway, more people means more strength. They should be able to find the way, right? Probably. The air seemed to turn awkward for a moment. On the way to find the silent forest, the man explained that their group originally had 3 people. Since their business was in the silent forest, their captain left a letter saying he was going to check out the silent forest and then disappeared. Hearing this, Yulia wanted to say he didn't expect the silent forest to be so famous. Not famous, notorious. Because it is said that no one who enters the silent forest can come out. That's why, worried about their captain, they came to find him. Hearing that the silent forest was so dangerous, Blue Cat couldn't help but feel relieved that they learned about this characteristic in advance. However, Yulia said, "Aren't we already within the range of the silent forest right now?" "Don't worry, I've been near that forest before. Only the forest with the giant Gus tree is the true range of the silent forest." Hearing this, Yulia was stunned. "You mean that tree?" "Yes, that's the place." The group hurriedly moved forward. After passing through a sparse wood, a dense forest appeared before everyone's eyes. It is said that whatever happens in this forest cannot be sensed by the outside world, and once a person enters, they can never come out. Even sound is swallowed, which is why it's called the silent forest. Seeing that the pattern the twin-tailed lowly was looking for wasn't nearby, they guessed that the guy must have gone inside. Hearing this, Yulia looked at the forest in front of him, pondering a question. Since it's a forest one cannot enter, from where exactly does the cannot enter part start? This is a forest where once you enter, you can never leave. But the young girl standing at the edge of the forest had a bold idea. Hypothetically, if the outermost trees are the boundary line, what happens if you step on a line with half your body in and half out? Or what if only the lower body is in and the upper body is out? Do these 2 states count as having entered or not? Or what just the hair goes in? What state is that? Seeing Yulia walking towards the silent forest, Blue Cat wanted to remind him not to play around. "Don't worry, I'm about to conduct a great experiment." Saying that, Yulia placed his hand on the trunk of the outermost tree in full view of everyone. Nothing happened. Seeing this, Yulia symbolically took a step sideways. Sure enough, the surroundings were quiet, and still nothing happened. Yulia breathed a sigh of relief, just as he wanted to say that Lord Yulia had taken a step of great significance. He turned back, only to find his companions had suddenly vanished. Things seemed to have become complicated. Unwilling to give up, he looked left and right again. Yulia had only one thought in his mind: "I'm done for. I seem to be trapped." Outside the forest, seeing Yulia actually walk into the forest and disappear before their eyes, everyone was stunned by this operation. Gray Hair wanted to say this was going to be difficult, but he saw Blue Cat sigh and walk towards the silent forest just the same. Gray Hair hurriedly spoke up to stop him. "Are you kidding? The silent forest is no joke. You really can't come out if you go in." But thinking of the contract he signed with Yulia, Blue Cat only said, "If that guy loses his life, I lose mine too." After saying that, he walked straight into the silent forest. Seeing this, the twin-tailed lowly was shocked. Oh my God, this person is so worried about his companion that he doesn't even care about his own life. So touching. Gray Hair just wanted to say, it doesn't look that simple. Coming into the silent forest, relying on the contract, Blue Cat instinctively sensed Yulia's location. Sure enough, he soon found Yulia. However, there was an extra person behind Yulia. This person greeted Blue Cat enthusiastically as soon as he saw him. Yulia hurriedly introduced him. This person was the lost captain of the twin-tailed lowly's group outside. As for the reason he entered the silent forest, it was the same as Yulia. He just wanted to see from where exactly the silent forest's no entry rule began. Seeing that 2 idiots had appeared at once, Blue Cat was speechless. The big captain added, "There are monsters in the silent forest. It's very dangerous. But there are also humans resisting the monsters in the forest. I happened to run into Yulia while out on sentry duty. So, come with me to our base camp. It's safer there. Hearing this, Yulia naturally had no problem with it and was happily ready to set off. But Blue Cat simply asked, "Do you or anyone else know a way out?" Hearing this, the big guy said awkwardly, "If we did, we wouldn't be here. Besides, regarding intel on this forest, honestly, I just arrived too. I only know they're constantly fighting monsters." Hearing that the monsters inside seemed quite powerful, Yulia was a bit worried. But don't worry, if you knew who was here, you'd definitely be shocked, because they are all legendary figures. Soon, they arrived at the gathering place. The big guy couldn't wait to notify everyone that he had found 2 new partners. However, among those people, a yellow hair was clearly blind, but using his extremely strong senses while Yulia and the others were discussing. He suddenly stood up with a cold expression and scolded, "What kind of monsters have you brought?" At this moment, he sensed a magical aura from that pink-haired lowly that was so strong it couldn't be compared to a bandit. In an instant, Yellow Hair drew his sword and flashed in front of Yulia. Amidst the sound of shattering and tearing, appearing before everyone's eyes again, was Blue Cat blocking in front of Yulia. However, one of his arms was already shattered. Feeling the injury, Blue Cat was furious. A mere human actually hurt him to this extent. Yellow Hair just wanted to say, "Demon, I'm not interested in you. Tell me that girl's true identity." This man is a blind person who cannot see, but he possesses a powerful conviction. And through his mind's eye, he perceived that the lost little lowly found by his companion was actually a monster in human skin. Sensing that terrifying aura and the other party's seemingly ill-intentioned approach, the man drew his sword and charged directly. But under the lowly's command, Blue Cat flew forward. In the instant he lost an arm, he actually blocked this strike. Feeling the injury, Blue Cat was both angry and excited at this moment. Angry because he had formed a contract with Yulia. The first clause of the contract was that if Yulia died, he would definitely die too. Excited because of the second clause of the contract. If a crisis threatening Yulia's life appeared, then Blue Cat's sealed power would be restored until the crisis was resolved. Feeling the return of his power, Blue Cat just wanted to say, "You guy, you've messed with the wrong person." Seeing Blue Cat's injury healing continuously, Yellow Hair's voice sank. This isn't something a normal demon can do. Hearing this, Blue Cat smiled. His image was vastly different from ordinary demons. Anyone could tell a glance. Your eyes really must be blind. Hearing this, the aura around Yellow Hair surged. Hometown, family, partners. As a former hero, what he lost fighting demons wasn't just his sight. Hearing this, Blue Cat just thought it was wondrous that the opponent could still sense him after losing his sight. Necessary to test this guy's background. The next second, a streak of black light appeared in his hand. Instantly, the black light shot towards Yellow Hair. But seeing Yellow Hair swing his sword, he cut it directly. Sensing the opponent's probe, Yellow Hair thought that although he had lost his sight, his perception remained. However, this demon's attack seems a bit different. Before, he had focused his attention on the little girl. But now, this demon had also aroused his hostility. Since that's the case, there's no other way. As a hero, I must exterminate you demons. Hearing this, Yulia hadn't reacted yet. How did things develop into a fight upon meeting? He just wanted to explain that the two of them were really just lost. But the next second, sword light flashed. However, the hero was stunned. The long sword in his hand was left with only the hilt, and Blue Cat was holding the snapped blade, expressionless. Then he casually tossed the blade aside and looked at Yulia. This guy's brain doesn't seem normal. You go hide to the side first. Sensing the shattering of the long sword in his hand, Yellow Hair threw it away directly. Instead, he reached for another sword at his waist. Demon, if you want to leave a whole corpse, you better be careful, because after losing one arm, I can't quite control this next one. Hearing this, Blue Cat smiled. Then bring it on. In an instant, Blue Cat's body blurred. When Yellow Hair sensed his presence again, an attack had already appeared at his side. But after he swung his sword, he felt a pressure appear behind him. Boasting so loudly, but your skill is only this much. But just then, the straw hat guy on the side hurriedly threw out a talisman. Talisman. Sel. Instantly, it stuck to Blue Cat's body and released waves of suppressive aura. Sensing what seemed to be his sealing power, Blue Cat simply flared his aura and instantly burst it open. Seeing this, Straw Hat Guy pushed up the brim of his hat, claiming it was the first time he had seen someone burst a seal with pure strength. Blue Cat laughed. If one-on-one doesn't work, you want to attack together? Calm down. I'm not here to fight. On the contrary, I'm here to stop the fight. Saying that, he looked at Yellow Hair. You calm down too. After all, we are all trapped in the silent forest. Our current predicament has nothing to do with grudges from the outside. We should work together. Hearing this, the big guy also said that Yulia and his companion had no ill will towards their side. Otherwise, he would have been killed when they first met. Yellow Hair also realized he was too agitated. Putting aside the grudge between humans and demons, they really needed to talk. Seeing the misunderstanding seemingly resolved, Yulia wanted to say a few words, but everyone's expression suddenly changed. Yellow Hair looked in Yulia's direction, filled with unspeakable hostility. Yulia hadn't reacted to what was happening yet. The next second, a unicorn with a middle-part hairstyle and brown fur appeared beside Yulia. We're done for. Your fighting aura just now attracted this guy. The unicorn was gently sniffing the scent on Yulia's body at this moment. But as if sensing something extremely dangerous, the next second, amidst a loud boom and everyone's shocked gazes, that unicorn actually turned into a giant of immeasurable height. A rare unicorn actively approaching a human, but everyone was not happy. Because in the hero's perception, this was actually a monster in beast skin. And at this moment, the unicorn was curiously smelling the young girl. It could sense that the girl was just like itself. The exterior was just a skin, the true body was something else. But the next second, its expression changed. The more it smelled, the more wrong it felt. This girl's true body actually gave it a sense of extreme danger. The next second, hearing a loud boom, the unicorn directly transformed into a giant monster. It wanted to eliminate the threat before it. Feeling the killing intent of the monster before him, Yulia was dumbfounded. He hurriedly asked Blue Cat to think of a way. But Blue Cat's power was sealed again, so he could only distract it. Seeing this, Yulia complained about him being useless and picked up speed to run away. At this time, the monster also launched an attack in Yulia's direction. Fortunately, the Baldy and the team stepped forward and blocked this strike for Blue Cat. Immediately after, Yellow Hair followed up, running up the monster's extended tree trunk-like arm onto its body. While going up, he didn't forget to look at Blue Cat. Demon, is your power all used up? Feeling his own uselessness, Blue Cat felt numb. And just as the hero advanced towards the monster's head, a hemorrhoid-like lump suddenly grew on the monster's torso. The next second, the lump turned into a human shape, and then a light began to glow in its mouth. The light got brighter and brighter. The next second, a monstrous wave of energy erupted directly from its mouth. This move had too large a range. Yellow Hair, caught off guard, was knocked flying. Watching Yellow Hair fall from midair, the next second, a terrifying giant face appeared in front of him. At this moment, Yellow Hair gritted his teeth. The opponent combo attack had hit him, and now he couldn't dodge at all. But the next second, a talisman suddenly stuck to the monster. The monster's movements abruptly paused. It was Straw Hat Guy who made his move. Looking at Straw Hat Guy, Yulia's expression sank, thinking so it was him. Before, when Yellow Hair attacked him several times, he didn't dodge because some power had sealed his actions at that time. Just then, the hero's sword fell from the sky, landing right next to Yulia, giving Yulia a start. Meanwhile, Blue Cat was sizing up that monster. That thing was powerful, but he couldn't tell what species it was, which intrigued him. At this time, Yulia took the sword he picked up and went to Blue Cat, intending to let Blue Cat return it for him. Hearing this, Blue Cat was speechless. He had no interest in caring about whether others lived or died. But if they die, with our powers sealed, no one will protect me. Blue Cat heard this and thought it made sense. He then added, but right now you are faster than me. You should go return it yourself. Yulia thought about how Blue Cat was useless right now. Facing the hostility, he didn't forget to comfort him. Don't sulk. Pray that they win. After all, that's good for both of us. Blue Cat felt numb hearing this, secretly sighing, wondering if he was the most useless one in the group. Beside him, the big guy seemed to have fallen into the same contemplation. On the other side, the battle was fierce. However, the monster's torso could regenerate, causing the battle to fall into a stalemate. Straw Hat Guy also observed this situation. Since the minor branches are endless, let's solve the problem directly from the root. Saying that, several talismans unfolded around his body. The next second, the monster paused. 3 talismans talismans had already appeared on its downward extending roots. Instantly, like spreading ink drops, its entire arm shattered with a loud bang. However, as luck would have it, the falling giant arm toppled right towards Yulia. Seeing disaster fall from the sky while just running on the ground, Yulia was dumbfounded. He simply subconsciously raised the long sword in his hand. But the next second, a dazzling light shone. Only shattered limbs were seen all around. The body that fell just now was actually struck to powder by Yulia. At this time, Yellowhair hurriedly shouted at Yulia, "That is the holy sword. You can't use it casually." Hearing this, Yulia was stunned. He didn't hear Yellowhair's warning. He just thought, that means this sword is an amazing treasure. Moreover, he, who had 0 speed and strength just now, suddenly became powerful. I became powerful because I added a sword. That is to say, sword equals power. Yulia plus sword equals strong. His clever brain switched on at this moment. Yulia looked at the sword in his hand, which was glowing brightly. He found the secret to strength. Since that's the case, everyone rest easy. Next, I will end this battle. Saying that, Yulia shouted, "Hathor," and rushed towards a monster. Hearing this, Yellowhair just wanted to say, "Don't give the holy sword random names." But Yellowhair was stunned again. Why can a person not chosen use the holy sword? He felt there were too many secrets about Yulia. So Yellowhair looked at Blue Cat and asked, "What exactly is that lowly's background?" Blue Cat pondered, was it be king or sea king? Yellowhair just thought, it really is a monster. On the other side, Yulia, holding the holy sword Hathor, cut through thorns and iron, practically invincible. He was getting a bit carried away. But the next second, light flashed from the monster's silhouette again. But this time, the attack was launched by its main body. In an instant, its attack range was so large it covered the sun in the sky. Seeing this, Yulia went numb. He just wanted to ask, what is this realm? A map-wide attack is cheating, right? The young girl accidentally picked up an unwanted holy sword and instantly became incredibly powerful. But when she wanted to help her companions solve the monster they encountered, unexpectedly, the monster's attack was overwhelming, its combat power crushing him by several levels. Sensing that Yulia was in danger, the seal on Blue Cat's body instantly lifted. The power of the ancient demon returned. But instead of resisting that monster, Blue Cat grabbed Yulia and was about to escape first. That monster was so powerful that even he wasn't sure if he could win. Watching this scoundrel Blue Cat only caring about himself and running away, the others were numb. But just then, no need to run. A strange voice sounded. A Tin Man actually appeared in front of everyone. The Tin Man held a shield and said that he could solve the invisible monster. Saying that, he walked forward. For a moment, a monstrous white wave surged towards the Tin Man like a tsunami. But he simply raised his shield and lowered his head. The next second, the wind cleared and the clouds scattered. A silence instantly enveloped the surroundings. Amidst everyone's shocked gazes, they saw that in front of the unharmed Tin Man, there was nothing. That monster seemed to have really been solved by him. At this moment, Yellowhair was surprised and asked if the monster had disappeared or what. But the Tin Man just responded, it probably ran away, saying that he wanted everyone to follow him to a safe place first. But towards this person who suddenly appeared, Yellowhair remained vigilant, asking why their group should follow the Tin Man. Just a whim of mine. Whether you come or not is up to you. So, the group obediently followed the Tin Man in a strange direction. However, on the way, Yulia felt something was a bit strange. The giant monster that disappeared just now didn't look like it was solved. Moreover, the moment the monster disappeared, it gave him a sense of déjà vu. Hearing this, Blue Cat felt things were a bit wrong. He couldn't help but ask the Tin Man where exactly he was taking them. The Tin Man still responded with that phrase, to a safe place. But if you don't explain clearly, we won't feel safe continuing to follow you. Hearing this, the Tin Man fell silent for a moment. All right then, I'll tell you what that thing just now is first. That thing is actually a fairy from the elven race. Everyone was stunned. Fairies are generally no bigger than a palm. That thing was ridiculously huge. See, I told you and you don't believe me. However, Blue Cat signaled the Tin Man to continue. The Tin Man said, this forest used to be where the fairies lived. Ordinary people couldn't find it or enter here. But a long time ago, a certain existence committed an unknown fault here. And this fault caused the elven race to start dividing and split into two factions. Under the conflict between the two sides, constant internal strife caused some fairies to fall. And the monster you saw is the crystallization of the fallen fairies. And to prevent it from harming the world, the fairies sealed it here. This is also what created this bizarre, silent forest. In short, this is a prison. And that monster is the prisoner kept here. You can't get out because you walked into the prison and were treated as prisoners. Saying that, the Tin Man pushed aside a patch of bushes and said, "And this is where I wanted to bring you. The center of the prison." Instantly appearing before everyone's eyes was a lake like a mirror of the sky. And in the center of the lake, a giant tree rose from the ground. What was even stranger was that although it looked like water, one could walk on it like solid ground. The Tin Man added, "Here, that monster cannot enter. You can rest assured." Hearing this, Yulia just thought, the more you say that, the more I feel something bad will happen. Seeing everyone still doubting, the Tin Man smiled. "Don't worry. The rules of racial traits are absolute here." Blue Cat asked, "Why do you know so clearly? Who exactly are you?" "Me? Because I'm also a fairy." Hearing this, Yulia was stunned. "You don't look like a fairy either." "All right, I've finished introducing myself. You guys talk about your identities too." Hearing this, the big guy introduced himself as an adventurer. Baldy was a mercenary. Straw Hat Guy claimed to be a pursuer of romance. And Yellow Hair was a hero. Blue Cat said the two of them counted as adventurers. And Yulia sagely said he was the team captain. Although Blue Cat was clearly a demon, saying he was an adventurer was a bit surprising. But what surprised the Tin Man the most was Yellow Hair's identity as a hero. Although he indeed had the aura of a hero, among the countless braves of the same era, only one brave could be called a hero. As far as I know, the contemporary hero doesn't seem to be you. Blue Cat just whispered, "My name is Walla. I'm the only hero who has fought against the Demon King." The big guy added, "Also the first hero in human history. That is to say, this hero is a person from at least 2,000 years ago." Hearing this, Yulia was shocked. Ordinary humans can't live that long. Is this guy really human? People from different eras appearing at the same point in time. A group of people trapped in a bizarre prison, wanting to work together to escape. But upon talking to each other, they discovered that they actually came from different times. Especially this Yellow Hair, claiming to be a hero. Someone recognized him as the guardian hero born 2,000 years ago to resist the demons. Besides him, there was also a famous mercenary from 500 years ago. As for Straw Hat Guy, it wasn't clear yet which era he came from. Straw Hat Guy stated bluntly that he had met others in this prison before. Everyone seemed to have the same situation. But right now, the important thing is how to escape this place. Hearing this, the Tin Man also gave his intel. In short, the time chaos and the key to escaping here are both related to the monster imprisoned in this jail. Because that monster's ability is precisely manipulating the time of this forest. That's why the time here is twisted. And if we want to leave, we have to defeat it. Hearing this, Blue Cat was startled. The opponent's ability is actually manipulating time? To be precise, it's a part of it. It can only rewind time. Some of you must have fought it before, more than once, right? Yellow Hair nodded. Many people had already died because of this. That's it. The fairy's combat power itself isn't that strong. But no matter how you fight, as long as it senses a disadvantage, it will make time flow backward and then fight you again. The more times you fight, the more chaotic the timeline here becomes. This also led to our meeting across thousands of years. However, I didn't feel any signs of time rewinding during the battle just now. It's just that the other party deliberately kept you from sensing it. However, Blue Cat is puzzled about the battle just now. After that monster died, it rewound time. Why didn't it fight us again? Instead, it disappeared. Or rather, continued the fight? Wasn't it supposed to never lose? That is exactly the point. As you said, it disappeared. No, it should be said that it ran away. It sensed it. Something threatened its existence. And that was the key to us defeating it and escaping this place. So, before I appeared, which is before it ran away, what did you all do? Hearing this, everyone was amused. It seemed like nothing special happened. But wait, it seems it was me. At that time, I was holding the holy sword and rushing toward that monster. Hearing this, Tin Man was amused. That doesn't seem very special. Blue Cat murmured, if it was him. Seeing Blue Cat deep in thought, Tin Man asked if he had realized something. That's right. Can I be sure now? In short, that monster was defeated by Yulia. Although the situation at the time didn't look like it, Blue Cat continued to explain. First, the monster's ability to rewind time must be limited, because it couldn't rewind time to before Yulia held the holy sword and rushed at him. Moreover, Yulia is different from us. He seems to have perceived the time rewind. Therefore, Yulia himself is special. Recalling Yulia's previous words, Straw Hat Guy nodded. It seems Blue Cat speculation is indeed reasonable. Yulia felt it was only natural because that kind of ability doesn't work on a causality higher than the caster. Yellowhair was curious about what causality referred to. Causality is this, that, and the other. Everyone was confused. Blue Cat pulled the topic back. Anyway, Yulia is special to that monster. We just need to use this point to come up with a solution. Speaking of which, Tin Man added one more thing. When that monster fell, it also gained immortality. To get rid of him, a special method is needed. Hearing this, Blue Cat said bluntly, "Don't worry. After all, I didn't expect to die back then either. But actually it can be done." Although Tin Man was still a bit puzzled, Blue Cat didn't intend to explain. At this moment, Tin Man looked at the hero, Walla. Hero, the spirits living in the tree in the center of the lake are very interested in you. Come with me to meet them. As for the others, stay here for now. Soon, just as Yulia was excitedly explaining what causality was, the two returned, although curious about what the spirits discussed with Walla. Walla explained, "I just heard some things similar to what you said before." However, for some reason, the spirits in the tree seemed extremely wary of this young girl. At this time, Tin Man stated that he would also move with everyone in order to get out. Yulia asked in confusion, "Aren't you a spirit? Isn't this your home? My home is elsewhere. I don't belong to this group of spirits." Seeing that the action was imminent, "Then let me tell everyone my battle plan. When a powerful person has their power sealed, what happens to their brain? This man is an ancient demon who has survived since ancient times. His power was so great that it was immeasurable, like his lifespan. However, ever since his power was sealed by a stronger existence, he became useless. But powerless, he welcomed a new life. His mind suddenly became sharp, and he actually became the brains of the team. And this time, he and his companions are trapped in a prison by a unicorn that controls time. To escape, he is going to attempt something crazy, designing a plan to kill a creature possessing the power of time." Blue Cat explained his plan. It can be roughly divided into 3 points: lure, siege, and contingency. First, lure the unicorn to their encirclement. This task is left to Straw Hat Guy. As for the reason, I once saw you pasting a lot of strange talismans in many places. We should be able to know the unicorn's location through that. That is indeed true, but I didn't tell you about this ability. How did you know? I just felt that someone like you would have such an ability. And on the way, while Straw Hat lures it, we must keep a distance of roughly 1 minute from Straw Hat at all times. Preparing for the siege. Regarding this, Walla asked, "Since we can find the opponent's location, why not move together instead of splitting up and increasing the risk?" Idiot, of course it's because the opponent can rewind time. However, while explaining the second point, the siege phase, there's one thing I still want to confirm. During the fight, just now, he didn't react to most of your attacks. But there were 2 times his reaction was drastic. Once was when Yulia rushed, and once was when you walked up along his arm. Assuming that when you walked up, it made him feel threatened. Can we also infer his weakness? Yellowhair nodded. When I fought him before, I always felt he was intentionally protecting his legs. So at that time, I aimed my attack at his legs. In other words, you and Yulia attacking the opponent's legs caused a threat to him. So he rewound time to stop you. The cause and effect are very reasonable. But there is a question here. Why didn't he rewind time to before Straw Hat cut off his arm? Why endure that damage and only rewind later? Why didn't he rewind time to before Yulia rushed at him with a sword? Even more extreme, why didn't he rewind time to before meeting us to avoid the danger? From this, it seems his ability is limited. The time he can rewind each time is limited. Even if the situation changes, he probably can achieve continuous rewinds of 2 or 3 times. As for the length of his time rewind, I speculate the maximum does not exceed 1 minute. Therefore, the second step, the combat phase, can be divided into 3 small segments. Straw Hat lures. Yulia, being the one the opponent fears most, will be a separate team. The rest of us will be another team. Wait until Straw Hat lures it to the siege location. Then Yulia will lead the charge to defeat it. Although I don't know what will happen to us. Judging from the opponent's previous action of fearing and fleeing, Yulia will definitely win. And next is the most important part. The second round of battle where the opponent is forced to rewind time. There are 2 situations here. The first is the best case scenario. In the first round, after the encounter, lure, regroup, and fight, the opponent is defeated and rewinds time to the moment he regrouped with us. As long as Yulia senses the opponent rewinding time, we intercept him before he rewinds time and prepares to flee. We can successfully kill him. But if the opponent rewinds time to before Straw Hat regrouped with us, the situation becomes troublesome. With this experience, he will definitely be more careful and won't be lured by us. Therefore, at that time, once Yulia senses something is wrong, run immediately to Straw Hat's side. We will simultaneously go there to pincer him from front and back. That way, he has nowhere to escape. In this operation, Yulia is the key figure. Voila! Lend the holy sword to Yulia for now. As for Yulia, stay here. The others set off with me. We will form a pincer formation nearby. However, before leaving, Blue Cat looked at Yulia. Yulia, can you still go berserk like when you met me before? Yulia looked at the necklace on his chest and said, although I'm not clear about the necklace's mechanism, there seems to be a limit on the number of times power can be unsealed. Moreover, that monster was very unstable when facing the mist. I feel he also cannot produce a stimulating effect on the necklace, sealing my power to unseal it. But don't worry, if my power returns, I'll use up one count to finish the opponent. And if not, there's also your plan, isn't there? Blue Cat nodded, feeling much more relaxed. So, on the other side, Straw Hat followed the talisman's induction, searching for the unicorn's position. Although he could sense it, the accuracy was lacking and required careful searching. But just as he vaguely sensed a wisp of aura, no hacks involved, suddenly appearing in front of him was indeed the unicorn. The unicorn detected the human scent. In the next second, it charged directly at Straw Hat to kill. Instantly, Straw Hat ran at high speed. He was about to lure it to the siege location, but the unicorn behind him suddenly paused. It actually quickly headed in the opposite direction. Straw Hat immediately understood this was the second situation. The opponent rewound time to before the regrouping. The next second, a bright gourd flower signal appeared in the dark water. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yulia looked somewhere, as if sensing something. So, just as Straw Hat was closely following the unicorn and sharing its location at all times, someone suddenly darted out in front of the unicorn. It was Yulia holding the holy sword. Stinky brat, now you can't escape. When you encounter a trouble you don't know how to solve, you might as well learn from this man and use the process of elimination. Just now, Blue Cat and the others received the signal of time rewinding. They immediately understood. The unicorn they were hunting had already been defeated by them once, and it activated the time rewind ability, returning time to before it was defeated. Therefore, now, they have to rush to set up an ambush on its escape route, taking advantage of the opponent's skill cooldown to completely destroy it. However, on the way, Blue Cat was pondering a question. Before time rewound, how did they defeat that unicorn? Could they repeat the trick? Blue Cat began to use elimination. First, Yulia. Yulia himself said he couldn't go berserk. Then the one who defeated the unicorn shouldn't be him. In yellow hair and the others behind him had fought the unicorn repeatedly, but failed repeatedly. Probably no chance either. And the big brother who just arrived here like himself didn't even bring a weapon, purely an extra character. After eliminating everyone, only one person remained who could solve that monster. That was himself. And the condition for liberating his power is Yulia encountering danger. In other words, if Yulia was in danger and he liberated his power, he could solve that unicorn. At this time, the group finally arrived at the coordinates given by Straw Hat. At this moment, Yulia could be vaguely seen lying on the ground. That implies, I'm going to kill you, Yulia, you bastard. But after saying this, nothing happened. The air instantly became awkward. The others looked at Blue Cat with difficulty. Blue Cat had a look of disbelief. Why was Yulia beaten down, yet his own power wasn't unsealed? At this moment, Straw Hat couldn't help but speak up. I say, Yulia seems to have been attacked by some unknown powder. Then he fell asleep. Looking at Yulia's sleeping face, Blue Cat was sweating cold bullets. He somewhat understood. If before time rewound, the unicorn threatened Yulia, leading to it being resolved by his unsealed self, then the opponent learned its lesson this time. As long as it doesn't pose a threat to Yulia, his own threat will dissipate accordingly. It seems he wasn't the only one actively thinking of countermeasures. Straw Hat panicked. Our original plan was to let Yulia lead the charge. What do we do now? Don't worry, I have other methods. Yellow Hair quickly asked what method, but that method failed just now. Now I don't know what to do either. Correct. Blue Cat's two methods were letting Yulia solve the opponent or unsealing himself. But now the opponent broke both. Yellow Hair was numb hearing this. This cold joke isn't funny. And at this time, the unicorn was also enraged by everyone's arrival. The next second, black mist rose. The unicorn reappearing before everyone actually turned into a centaur. Yellow Hair thought to himself, this is bad, because this is that guy's strongest form. Its strength is unknown times stronger than the previous enlarged form. And at this moment, the centaur charged with a death charge towards Barawan. Barawan didn't waste time seeing the battle start. He directly grabbed the opponent's torso, blocking the hit and controlling it. At this time, Wallace shouted, "Watch me," simultaneously moving forward to pick up the holy sword lent to Yulia, sensing that the group was about to coordinate. The moment the centaur was controlled, its front body wriggled. Another body actually appeared. Then, under Barawan's sweating expression, the newly appeared guy thrust his sharp spear directly at Barawan's throat. In an instant, blood spilled. Seeing this, Straw Hat hurriedly moved forward to support. But the centaur dodged directly to his front, intending to take the opportunity for a double kill. Seeing this, Straw Hat's pupils shrank. He knew it was bad. This is sending them in one by one to get killed. But a sudden blow came from his side. Dodge, idiot! It was actually Tin Man coming to save the day at this critical moment. But his own body was pierced and lifted up. Seeing that if this continued, the whole army would be wiped out, Blue Cat shouted, "Wake Yulia up quickly. Only he can finish off the opponent, no matter what means. Even if you have to beat him, wake him up." Hearing this, Walla clenched his fist and shouted, "Forgive me." Then, using all his strength, he was about to hit Yulia on the head. But at this moment, an unwilling roar was heard. "Stupitumans." An even more stupid demon. The voice came from Tin Man. "Just watching your operations makes me want to die of exhaustion." As the voice fell, his helmet suddenly dropped off, and what was revealed under the armor was actually an empty, non-existent body. But the voice continued, "Listen well, you all. The moment fairies harm other living beings, they can never return to their hometown again. The reason this guy fell is because of this. And next, I'm going to make a move." A small hand stretched out from the armor. Immediately after, a fairy actually popped out of the armor. "So don't get hurt by me. Otherwise, whoever causes me to be unable to return home, I'll have to get rid of them." This monster, just by touching the dandruff falling from the spirit's body, was blown into a dummy in the next second. Seeing the monster that everyone was helpless against just now being killed instantly, Blue Cat asked, "What happened? Is it over?" "It's not that simple. I said he can't be killed by ordinary methods." As the voice fell, the monster's body twisted again. Then, under everyone's horrified gaze, it actually changed from a centaur into a human form. Sensing the powerful aura on the opponent, Straw Hat suddenly felt something bad was about to happen. Sure enough, when the spirit wanted to attack again, the monster disappeared from the spot, and behind it, the monster was moving at an indescribable speed, rapidly approaching the spirit's back. Caught off guard, the spirit didn't have time to fight back. But in the next second, a sword light flashed. It was Walla coming to support. The spirit shouted, "Good job." Walla just wanted to say you're welcome, but in the next second, the severed monster corpse behind him suddenly exploded. Seeing this, Walla was startled. That wasn't the monster's corpse just now. It's a physical body, but this guy can attach to any object. Fighting him is really tricky. By the way, I only came with you because you said you had a way to solve it. But now ending up in such a stalemate is really annoying. At this time, the monster wanted to continue sneak attacking the spirit, but his gaze shifted. Then he gave up on the spirit and merged into the surrounding environment again. On the other side, the spirit shouted, "This is all your fault." Coming to Blue Cat, Blue Cat was speechless. He didn't expect that Yulia, the key to his battle plan, would fall for the opponent's hypnosis skill. "But don't worry, I'm trying hard to wake him up." Saying that, Blue Cat raised his huge palm. So, after an unknown number of big slaps, Yulia finally opened his eyes, bruised and swollen. "What happened? Why does it seem like I fell asleep? I should be the one asking you that. I remember that thing spat something at me. But why do I suddenly feel a burning pain on my face? What's going on?" Hearing this, Blue Cat's face remained unmoved. Next second, eat my Yulia head hammer, you bastard. Blue Cat directly lifted Yulia and swung him at the suddenly appearing monster. For a moment, Yulia's head was buzzing as he knelt on the ground. The monster also fell to the ground in pain. Seeing this, everyone was startled. It was the first time they saw this monster show the emotion of pain. But at this time, the monster quickly stood up again. Seeing the monster about to flee, Walla hurriedly moved forward to stop it. However, a huge earth wall rose from the ground, blocking directly in front of Walla. But Walla whispered, "In the past, I never prepared well for battle. But now, I'm getting serious." Seeing the monster rarely suppressed, the spirit shouted, "Everyone attack together." But just then, Wallace seemed to have made a decision. Immediately, the momentum on his body surged violently. As the holy sword shone, a touch of gray appeared beneath his feet. Then Walla pointed at the monster. Gradually, a large area of gray extended to the surroundings, directly enveloping the monster in the gray glow. And a strange mark appeared on both the monster and Walla. At the same time, Walla whispered, "I declare war on you." The monster didn't understand what was happening yet. "But this way, you can't escape. The brand left on me represents a symbol of betting one's own life for this battle. In other words, only when one of us dies in battle can we leave here." Hearing this, Straw Hat's face changed. He recognized this as an ability he had only heard of but never seen. Vaditia la ration. But why bet your life? You weren't this active before. What happened suddenly? Wait, is the ending of fighting the Demon King always the hero winning? The answer might be crueler than you imagine. This man is the first hero born in humanity's war against the demon race. But he failed in the duel challenging the Demon King. Having lost both eyes and an arm, he returned to the human territory in a sorry state. What greeted him was only everyone's ruthless cursing and pointing. Everyone questioned him. "Why do you have the face to come back after losing? You should have died there." Some even viewed him as a stain on the human race because of this, wanting to assassinate him. After suffering a series of events, the man despaired. He was chosen by the church as the hero from thousands of braves. He thought about shouldering this responsibility, and he worked hard to avoid failure and disappointing everyone's expectations. But similarly, he also wanted to live, even though becoming a hero wasn't his own choice. Why? When facing the Demon King's unrivaled power, did everyone want him to die there? While his heart was filled with negative emotions like escape, an equally strong sense of responsibility rose in the hero's heart. He was the first hero chosen among humans. If he didn't continue to fight the Demon King, what would happen to humanity? Who else could stand up? But he himself wanted to live. Under two extremely conflicting emotions, the hero was lost. So he came to the Silent Forest, known as the place of no return once entered, escaping reality. But in the Silent Forest, a young girl's words untied the knot in his heart that had lasted for so long. Time rewinds to not long ago. Yulia was still explaining what causality is. In short, causality is an existence acknowledged by the world. Think about it. When powerful existences let their guard down or are attacked while sleeping, wouldn't they be easily destroyed? But why hasn't such a thing happened? It is because causality is protecting them, preventing similar events from happening. With the birth of corresponding power, there will be the end of a corresponding outcome. Causality is the guarantee that things end with a beginning and an end. Big Guy exclaimed amazing upon hearing this, but it seemed he didn't quite get it. Anyway, things with causality will be endowed with strange powers. This stunned the hero. He just felt it was somewhat similar. Among the human race, only one person among thousands of braves can become a hero. And this one person will also be endowed with special power by the church. We generally call that grace. Big Guy nodded. The grace obtained by heroes is passed down from generation to generation, just like a legend. That is the ultimate ideal against the Demon King. It is also humanity's most honorable grace. Hearing this, Walla fell silent. "Thank you for your praise, but my qualifications are probably far from being able to bear this honor." However, Walla looked at Yulia again. If letting the story that started end, is a causality existence protected by the world, then if one person starts it but fails to end it, will it be passed on to others? Although I don't know if it's the ending you want, unfinished causality will continue to be passed on until the day it ends. Hearing this, a certain place in Walla's heart was touched. Time returns to the present battle against the cursed fairy. "I declare war on you." Walla issued a pre-war declaration. Betting his own life, he started this decision. Straw Hat listened at this moment. You weren't this positive before. Why bet your life? What happened suddenly? In the past, I thought the end of the human-demon war depended only on me, that only I could do it. I thought my failure meant the end forever. So I ran away. In the past, I always felt the burden on my shoulders was too heavy and frightening. After running away, I asked myself countless times, why am I the hero? Why must I suffer pain? I'm just a human being too. Until today, I found the answer and understood the reason. Because the beginning of the story was caused by me. Becoming a hero, for me who lost my hometown and hated the demon race, is not a misfortune, but an opportunity given by heaven. And now, after understanding causality, I no longer fear failure, because my causality will be passed on to others. The causality of the human-demon war won't be unable to end because of my failure, because besides me, there are others still working hard. So now, as a hero, I just need to eliminate the evil existence. The next second, Waller rushed forward abruptly. He directly sliced off the monster's defense with one sword strike. But with the buff of immortality, the monster directly responded fiercely with a punch to Waller. But even after taking a heavy hit, Waller didn't forget to swing his sword. After retreating from a blow, feeling the long-lost hearty battle sensation, Waller whispered, "The battle has just begun." Next second, Waller suddenly disappeared from the spot, charging at the monster again to kill. Waller in battle forgot himself, as if everything in the past vanished like smoke at this moment. He is the hero, chosen by causality, the beginning that started the human-demon war. He once feared failure, hated his fate of being chosen as a hero. But now he understands. This is a gift from heaven. It's a chance for him to take revenge on the demon kings who destroyed his hometown and exterminated his companions. So fearing no failure, no escape, what he has to do is swing his sword ceaselessly at evil. I am Walla, the only, no, the first hero to fight the demon king. Instantly, the slaughter unfolded again. When Walla retracted his sword stance again, the monster had fallen to the ground, dying. Farewell. Walla came to the monster's body holding the long sword. Then he plunged the long sword into the opponent's head. But in the next second, the surrounding space seemed to shatter. All the scenes seemed illusory. Idiot, dodge quickly. Wake him up quickly. Even if you have to beat him, wake him up. Forgive me. By Yulia. But in the next second, the sleeping Yulia suddenly woke up. Wait, you're raising your fist to fight me? Walla was startled. Why did you suddenly wake up? What do you mean? Wasn't I watching the battle from the side just now? Unintentionally feeling a gaze, Yulia made eye contact with that monster. But at this moment, the monster only had eyes for Walla. It had just rewound time in a critical moment, returning to this moment, and feeling the memory in its brain, the memory of almost being killed just now. It instantly flew into a rage out of humiliation. The next second, light flashed on its almost distorted face. It was about to launch its strongest attack, and the target was exactly Walla. That hero had fought with all his might to defeat a monster. But just as he was about to finish the monster, the surrounding space seemed to shatter. Time actually rewound to the point before the monster was defeated. At this moment, the hero hadn't yet launched his skill or pre-battle declaration. Instead, following the previous plan, he intended to wake the sleeping Yulia. But Yulia's sudden awakening came with the words, "What's going on? Wasn't I just watching you fight that monster?" And it wasn't just Yulia who noticed that time seemed wrong. Even Blue Hair, due to the influence of the contract with Yulia, saw scenes from before the time rewind in his mind. He immediately understood. The opponent had activated a time rewind ability to save its life. And after every rewind, that monster's attacks would always be very intense. In other words, this time the opponent would definitely unleash its most violent attack on the hero immediately. That's right. At this moment, sensing the memory of almost being killed in its mind, the monster was furious. The next second, it launched its strongest attack. It wanted to wipe out the hero before the hero could make a move. But the monster made a mistake. At this moment, Yulia was standing with the hero. Its attack also threatened Yulia. In that instant, when Yulia is threatened, Blue Hair's strength is restored. The contract instantly activated. Under the spreading wings, Blue Hair instantly appeared between the two. With just an extension of his hand, the monstrous attack was easily parted by him. Then, in the next second, the monster's attack abruptly stopped. It couldn't help but look down at its own chest. Blue Hair's strike had already pierced through its chest. Your existence is certainly interesting, but I want to go home. At this moment, the monster still wanted to rely on its immortal body to counterattack. But the next second, thorns shot up from below. Countless spikes pierced its body. Seeing that the opponent still wouldn't die like this, Blue Hair smiled. Although I want to try other methods. However, to prevent your cold-blooded condition of time rewinding, you'd better just die obediently. And as Blue Hair waved his hand, a huge attack suddenly appeared in front of him, and that monster vanished into smoke, ceasing to exist. At this moment, the hero was shocked. The opponent could destroy that monster in one hit. He couldn't help asking what kind of being this Blue Hair was. Demon race. The Straw Hat Kid was terrified. I don't know anything about the demon race at all. I'll describe it to you based on what I see. Appearance is very like a human, but what's special is having red eyes and black scara, like a devil. Hearing this, the big guy just wanted to say, isn't this the description of demons in the fairy tales passed down forever? But the next second, the straw hat in front of him suddenly disappeared. Before anyone could understand what was happening, the Tin Man explained, this is because we solved that monster. The spirits living in this forest feel we are useless now, so they started expelling us. Hearing this, Wallace said helplessly, for real? The next second, the first hero from 2,000 years ago, Walla, also disappeared from the spot, followed by the mercenary Barawan from 500 years ago. Seeing this, the big guy understood somewhat. It seems the order of departure is based on the time of entry into the forest. After speaking, he also disappeared from the spot. Blue Cat grumbled, what a bunch of capricious spirits. The next second, he was sent out of the silent forest, and Yulia stood on the spot, also waiting to be transported. But the surroundings were quiet. It seemed nothing happened. Seeing this, Yulia panicked a little. Could it be that her bad luck constitution caused another accident? But the next second, a patch of green grew at Yulia's feet. In an instant, a giant plant with a human shape appeared before Yulia. It was precisely the spirit of this forest. Sure enough, you are the leader of the Deep Sea clan. The spirit looked at Yulia. I know your ancestors, but you shouldn't have appeared here. Your existence itself will destroy the whole world. The world's causality is in chaos because of you. Do you know that? And if you continue to live on land, you will pay the price. So go back to the sea. Hearing this, Yulia's gaze hardened. You really talk a lot, but you don't need to worry about the world's causality, because the path I walk is the correct path. The spirit was silent for a moment. Anyway, thank you for helping me this time. As a reward, I will tell you one thing you must know. Thus, shortly after, outside the forest, the Twin Tails and lowly pair searched everywhere around the silent forest, but couldn't find their missing captain. Just as the two suspected that the guy had really entered the silent forest, they heard a voice from behind. Immediately after, their captain, along with Yulia and the others who had entered the silent forest earlier, actually walked out of the forest. Seeing this, the two were shocked. Didn't they say that once people enter the silent forest, they can never come out? And, Captain, you really went in? The big guy burst into tears. He pounced directly on his companions. It wasn't easy getting from inside to outside. A lot happened in there. Since they were already out, Yulia prepared to say goodbye to the big guy. Hearing this, the big guy was grateful again. It was thanks to Yulia and the others this time that he understood himself. Then, reluctantly, he bid farewell to Yulia. And as they left, the big guy couldn't help but tell his companions about what happened in the forest. Did you know? There are actually fairies in the forest. Only palm-sized. So cute. Hearing this, Blue Hair, who originally intended to leave, paused. Wait. After time rewound, the fairy and the Tin Man didn't come out again. How does this guy know? On the other side, Yulia was urging Blue Hair to go home quickly. By the way, didn't we take a mission to search for magical beasts in the Silent Forest? If we go back and say there are fairies in the Silent Forest, will they consider the mission complete and give us the commission? Probably won't believe it. Why? It's clearly the truth. Because humans only believe what they want to believe. So, back at their small tent, Yulia lay comfortably on the ground, but couldn't help complaining that it was another day without earning money. But Blue Hair stood aside in a daze. Yulia followed Blue Hair's gaze and looked behind herself. She saw the Tin Man lying on the ground in a seductive pose. On his shoulder was exactly that fairy. I say, you guys are late. I've been waiting for a while. This young girl accepted a minion for the first time, and it was a powerful demon who had survived from ancient times. But sadly, the demon's power was sealed, and now he's a useless guy. The second time she accepted a minion, she took in another one, a fairy who has also lived for who knows how many years. Iris. But because the rule set by fairies is not to harm other living beings, he is also useless. This resulted in the girl, who is clearly the boss, now having to pay out of pocket and earning only 3 coins a day. Damn it, 3 people eating 1 meal costs 6 coins. Calculating it like this, working hard all day, she still owes 3 days' wages. Thinking of this, Yulia went numb. She questioned Iris why they were so useless. And seeing that things had evolved into bickering between women, Bluehair sensibly prepared to go home first. However, on the way back, his thoughts grew heavier. Just a short while ago, when Iris first joined them, he mentioned something. That was Yulia's purpose for coming from the deep sea to the land. Yulia, although your purpose is to defeat the mist on the land, actually your ultimate goal is to avenge Cindy, isn't it? Hearing this, Yulia's face became rarely serious. Listen well, I have only one purpose for coming ashore. That is to become the sole king under heaven. As for you, Iris, if you want to follow us, follow. But I want to be the captain. Recalling this conversation, the most important information was that the former Demon King had actually killed Yulia's ancestor. Now he is contracted by Yulia and has become a servant. But if he can find out how Yulia's ancestor died, perhaps he too has a possibility to counter Yulia and regain his freedom. However, at this moment, a few people nearby attracted Bluehair's attention. The next second, he saw Yulia and Iris seeming to be kidnapped by someone. Wait, what is this situation? Soon, Bluehair turned into a black bat and followed those who kidnapped Yulia. Although he really wanted to act, but now Yulia wasn't suffering any obvious threat, so his power wouldn't return. It really distressed him. But just then, he saw a figure swoop down. In an instant, a gleam of sword light slashed towards the bat Bluehair had transformed into. When the person landed, he was heard saying, "Demon, no matter how you hide yourself, you can't escape my eyes." The Comer was exactly the candidate hero, Wuxi. But I say, what are you doing? Bluehair was forced to reveal his true form, only to see it was an old acquaintance. He was speechless for a moment, and seeing the devil, he casually attacked. That was actually the powerful existence that had crushed him before. Wuxi was dumbfounded. He had just managed to forget the shadow this evil god left on him. Who could have thought this evil god would appear before his eyes again in the blink of an eye, right? Do you remember that wrong package you sent Yulia last time? She was furious then. She swore to kill you, Wuxi, to vent her anger. So this time I came to apologize to her. But the situation now is not good. I seem to have lost them. Wuxi was stunned, wanting to ask why. But seeing Wuxi, Bluehair suddenly had a good idea. Meanwhile, in a cave somewhere, why would someone offer a high price for this brat? A red-haired woman looked at the prey in hand, somewhat surprised. But soon, she focused her attention on Iris. Seeing you're quite big, I'm really curious what kind of face is under the helmet. Hearing the other party seemed about to rip off his armor, Iris panicked. But at this moment, I advise you not to touch it, a silver-haired man said coldly. That armor is empty inside. It's just a possessed item. Hearing this, Iris was startled. How did this guy know? Immediately after, that man said again, many things after being cursed become that appearance. If you touch it, there's a high probability of no good outcome. Hearing this, Red Hair thought for a moment and felt it made sense. She turned to look at Green Hair beside her. Now I'm curious. How did you catch them? Weren't you out gathering intelligence? How did you complete the mission directly? At that time, I felt they didn't seem to have any power. I tried a little and lured them over. Just that simple. Did you use any special method? Hearing this, Yulia and Iris went numb. Please don't say it. It's too embarrassing. Recalling that he just said to the two, "If you come with me, there's money to be had," and the two followed him happily. But Green Hair responded verbally, "That's a trade secret." Seeing her curiosity wasn't satisfied, Red Hair became interested in Iris again. "I told you not to move. Are your hands itchy?" Red Hair's gaze hardened. "You new guy, you seem not to know respect for seniors." Watching the atmosphere between the two instantly become tense. The bat Bluehair transformed and it took the opportunity to come to Yulia's side. "Why are you only here now?" "Because there was a little accident on the way. But don't worry, there's someone else coming to help you. And it's someone who wants to perform well in front of you." And just then, as if sensing something, "Don't argue. Someone is outside." The next second, under everyone's gaze, they saw the rock wall of the cave instantly shatter. Sensing who the newcomer was, Green Hair only felt cold sweat streaming down. This wasn't just a ruthless person. It was practically a monster arriving. And rushing out of the smoke at this moment was exactly Wuxi. However, the first sentence he shouted upon arriving was, "Lord Yulia, last time was my fault. I sent the wrong item. Forgive me." This man achieved success young, but went astray. For money, he didn't hesitate to kidnap an innocent young girl. Unexpectedly, the girl had a big background. Even a famous hero came to rescue her. Seeing the newcomer was Wuxi, the other kidnappers were ready to surrender. But the man was somewhat unconvinced. "Who is this kid? Why are you guys so scared?" Hearing this, his teammates were speechless. But thinking that Silverhair had just made a name for himself and didn't have much experience yet, they explained, "The man in front of you is a character who might become the next hero among thousands of adventurers." Hearing this, Silverhair's gaze turned cold. The first truth I learned coming this far is, many powerful and famous adventurers and rumors are actually overrated, so you don't need to be afraid. We'll finish him together. Hearing this, Green Hair went numb. "You kid, don't get carried away just because you have a little fame. We seniors were once like you, rising stars. But eventually, recognizing reality, we all chose to become drivers. If you want to die, don't drag us along." Hearing this, Silverhair spat out, "Cowards. Since that's the case, I'll go alone." Seeing this, Wuxi whispered, "Kid, don't make useless efforts. I've heard of your recent reputation, and do you know what that means?" But Silverhair didn't waste words. He directly threw several throwing knives as a response to Wuxi. After Wuxi dodged, the silver-haired man was no longer in sight. Wuxi continued to whisper, "This means, for an adventurer with some fame like you, your abilities are already known to everyone." In an instant, the ground shattered. The burrowing silver hair was instantly shaken out of hiding. Whether it's your ability to burrow into the ground or your attack habits, your cards have long been revealed. Silver Hair didn't give up. A layer of black metal appeared on his body. "Right. You also have the ability to turn into steel. I know this too. So you really are an arrogant guy." In an instant, Wuxi drew his sword. His first strike was also the last strike against the opponent. The next second, amidst the tearing sound of flesh, Silver Hair could no longer dance. Seeing this, the others swallowed hard. They just wanted to say, some rumors might really not be fake. But the next second, "Lord Yulia, are you alright?" Wuxi hurriedly rushed to Yulia's side, at the same time explaining that the matter of sending the wrong package last time was really not intentional. "By the way, who is this?" "My subordinate. After all, my minions are everywhere." While Wuxi went to save people, the red-haired woman sensed an opportunity and planned to slip away. "Don't move, though. The transfer is ready. It's not over yet." And at this moment, Wuxi also turned his attention back to the enemies. "Speak. Who instructed you?" "We aren't clear either. Just someone in our network anonymously offered a huge bounty. Wanted to capture this little girl and her companions. And you guys, don't adventurer hunters usually act alone? Why act as a team this time?" "Because there are many people who want to catch this girl. Even hunters from the front lines are rushing here. So we just formed a team on the way, right?" However, Green Hair seemed to sense something. The next second, Green Hair's face instantly turned dark. "The main force we agreed to meet here seems to be Wuxi. I take back my surrender." In an instant, countless figures appeared in the cave. "Now, I actually want to put a period on your heroic deeds right here. A group of killers for money wanted to kill the hero who fights demons for humanity. Unexpectedly, the hero isn't a saint. He directly unleashes his ultimate to blow up the field. Just now, Wuxi was surrounded by a group of killers. A killer with sensory abilities among them noticed Wuxi's companions weren't nearby. Immediately decided this was a chance to eliminate Wuxi. In an instant, he activated his ability to bind Wuxi first. But he saw Wuxi jump up, using Crow Plane in midair. With just one slash, he killed him. Seeing this, the other killers couldn't help saying, "Good kill." That's right, when killing his own kind instead of monsters, ordinary people would hesitate. But the guy in front of them didn't. Not simple at all. On the other side, Wuxi stood with his sword. "You know who I am, and still attack me." In that case, Wuxi moved his hand. The long sword in his hand suddenly stood in midair. Immediately after, the long sword's phantom blurred. It actually turned into several flying swords. Looks like there's nothing to explain. Seeing Wuxi unleash his ultimate right away, Green Hair hurriedly warned, "Careful." He became a candidate hero relying on this move. But the next second, sword light flashed. Countless flying swords rose into the air. instantly controlling the field, watching the flying swords flying across. The leader keenly discovered these flying swords seem to only have throwing capabilities. In that case, blocking them shouldn't be a problem for me. But the next second, with a howling sound breaking the air, a long sword directly pierced his body, bidding farewell to him. Seeing this, the muscled bro on the side fell silent. In just a moment, their side was killed until only 4 remained. One must know, the people gathered just now were enough to assassinate a kingdom. This strength is not what a candidate hero should have. So what is your background? For a moment, muscles on the chicken legs exploded. The next second, Muscle Bro's figure suddenly disappeared from the spot, instead turning into rapidly moving phantoms surrounding Wuxi. Wuxi whispered in his heart, so fast. The opponent's speed had already surpassed what eyes could catch. But the next second, he saw equally inconceivably fast sword blades, densely searching for weaknesses. He wanted to force this man out, but Muscle Man wasn't flustered. He dodged the attacks precisely, but he began to sense something wrong. He suddenly looked up, only to see he had fallen into an encirclement of countless flying swords. Damn, is this the hero's strength? For a time, seeing only 3 people left on the field, Wuxi whispered, do you know? Once I didn't use this move, grace, against a warrior, and then the prey I had in hand was snatched. So since then, I form a habit. That is the grace skill that should be used last as a finishing move. I use it first instead. However, the more I use it, once someone spreads the word, my weakness is likely to be known. So do you understand? The reason I'm wasting breath with you now? Because I never planned to let you leave alive. Green Hair just said, looks like the matter has no room for retrieval. In that case, Green Hair shouted. Instantly, countless black holes appeared around him. Immediately after, another phrase, stand up. The black holes instantly turned into one black figure after another. Since you are ready, then prepare to die. But just then, wait. One bandit held a knife against Blue Cat and said, this guy is your companion, right? If you move again, I'll take his life. Hearing this, Blue Cat was silent, and Wuxi was dumbfounded. Wait, you're holding a knife against that demon who can crush me by 10 streets. What are you doing? This bandit held a hostage, trying to force back the hero chasing them. Unexpectedly, the hostage was a demon stronger than the hero. Hero Wuxi knew Blue Hair's background. At this moment, he was numb. He knew if Blue Hair got angry, none of them would survive. So Wuxi hurriedly persuaded, you'd best not provoke him. But something even more outrageous came. Another bandit saw that one hostage didn't seem to deter Wuxi much. Immediately lifted Yulia nearby, wanted to provoke Wuxi further. At this moment, the red-haired woman stepped on the fairy Iris who had lived for who knows how many years, holding the Sea King Yulia in hand, truly reached the peak of life. Seeing this, Wuxi panicked. Damn it, if Blue Hair is 10 times stronger than him, then Yulia, with released power, is 10 times stronger than Blue Hair. Is Mengpa having a sale on soup? Are you in such a rush to reincarnate? Thinking of this, Wuxi hurriedly put away his weapon, indicated he would let them go, begging them only not to hurt Yulia. Seeing this, the short-haired woman revealed a death-seeking smile. In an instant, a huge ice blade appeared on her body. Seeing you seem very afraid, I'm actually curious. What happens if I hurt this girl? Seeing this, Yulia sighed, good grief. Why is it always me getting hurt? And at this moment, sensing Yulia was threatened, the seal on Blue Hair's body instantly lifted. In an instant, only the sound of liquid spraying was heard. When the surroundings became quiet again, only bloodstains remained everywhere, and the expressionless Blue Hair. Seeing this, Wuxi just wanted to say, you really die if you seek death. Soon, untying the group, Wuxi also stated his purpose. Because of the wrong package sent to Yulia last time. As compensation, Wuxi had a mission to repel magical beasts. Wanted to do it with Yulia. This mission is right in the town where Yulia lives. And after completing the mission, there is a reward of 30 gold coins. But Yulia said again, if it's a combat mission, the 3 of us are each more useless than the other. Seems we can't help much. Don't worry, this mission is mainly handled by the local team. We're just going to put our names down as insurance. No need to act. By the way, how should I address this friend in armor? The next second, the helmet was opened. Hello, I'm Iris, he greeted warmly. And seeing what appeared before him was actually, seemingly the legendary fairy race. Wuxi couldn't help recalling the scene when he first met Yulia and the others. At that time, his companion mentioned, besides the ancient demons, there are also the merfolk and the fairies of the little people race. All are powerful beings who have lived for unknown years. Good grief. In other words, the few battlefield ceilings, ancient demon, mermaid, and fairy of the little people race are all in front of him. Wusi didn't know what to say for a moment. Then how do we do this mission? Where do we do it? Don't worry. Just follow me when the time comes. By the way, can I ask, do you have any iconic abilities? Can be used as code names. Convenient for others to address during the mission. I don't seem to have that kind of thing. But hearing a faint laughter coming from Iris. Finally, my turn to introduce formally. I believe you've already seen Yulia. That's right, this shield on my back has a great origin. It is a divine artifact that can block any attack. So, Yulia and Wusi said in unison. What special ability does it have? And blue hair went numb. Didn't he just say it just now? Listen well, no matter what kind of attack the bandit makes, this shield can block it, limited to once. Everyone felt it seemed very powerful. Yulia, however, said, if it's limited to once, didn't you already use it in the Silent Forest? Don't worry, this shield has a special ability. That is, every week the block count resets. So, it can only block one attack a week? Iris nodded. A moment of awkward silence fell. Wusi whispered, it's okay. Even without the special ability, it doesn't matter. Hearing this, Iris was speechless. Don't you guys see how powerful this shield is? What a bunch of ignorant people. By the way, who were those people who kidnapped me just now? A group of adventurer hunters. Basically, they're killers who work for money. Hearing this, Yulia didn't seem to understand why they would target her. Blue Hair said, could it be because we stole someone's fruit? Just as Yulia was pondering if that was possible, they heard Lord Wusi. A zombie-like person appeared before them. The hero is causing trouble. Master and Aya are fighting the hero. I saw Master was about to lose, so I ran first. Hearing this, Wusi was startled. In his impression, that hero wasn't a kind person. What's wrong? Do you have urgent business and need to leave? Looking at Yulia's innocent eyes, Wusi whispered, sorry. My companion is in trouble. It seems I have to leave for a short while. Hearing this, Yulia said disappointedly, is that so? But Wusi quickly comforted, but don't worry. You could take that mission in my place. Basically, the person who accepts the mission can recommend others of the same rank to bring along. I can write you a recommendation letter. Yulia nodded, that's a good idea. But Blue Hair said, wait a minute. If Yulia is the recommended person, with her appearance, she might be looked down upon. So they arrived at the mission location. So you are the Iron Giant Iris recommended by Lord Wusi? A pleasure to meet you, hero. As for these two, they are my servants who serve tea, water, wash clothes, and cook. This is a shield that can block any attack. But the blocking effect has a 7-day cooldown after each use before it can be used again. As luck would have it, a girl accidentally knocked over a cup and hit the shield. While no one noticed this, the group took the shield and set foot on the road to subdue the demon beast. Just now, Blue Hair asked how Yulia planned to spend the commission money after completing this mission. Maybe buy some weapons or buy a house. But isn't your goal to defeat the Demon King? The Demon King is on the distant front lines. We're going to front lines soon too. Why buy a house? Hearing this, Yulia realized that made sense. At this moment, Iris, who went out to find out the mission details, came back with a pile of food. Seeing this, Yulia and Blue Hair were shocked. They had never lived such a wealthy life. They hurriedly asked where it came from. Iris explained that since they are now heroes, food is free and drinks are unlimited. Hearing this, Yulia was moved to tears. In that case, wouldn't it be even better if we could take some with us? Iris smiled. I thought so too. So I brought back a whole suit of armor stuffed with food. Seeing this, Yulia felt that taking an Iris was the best decision she ever made. Looking at the rich ingredients before them, Yulia wanted to make a few side dishes for Blue Hair and the others. I'll show off my skills, but let me do the cooking. Forgive me for being blunt. You have absolutely no talent for cooking. Iris remembered Yulia's cooking skills were 0. But Iris didn't forget to comfort her. Anyway, it doesn't matter who cooks, it's all for eating, isn't it? Yulia nodded. In that case, I'll go prepare something else. Saying that, Yulia hummed her self-created Song King of the Sea, holding a bowl intending to mix a Sea King sauce. Pass me the soup bowl next to you. Yulia hurriedly turned around to get the soup bowl. But what Yulia didn't notice was that the moment she turned, she bumped into the water cup on the table. The cup wobbled, then fell straight onto the shield nearby. In an instant, the shield ability to block all attacks activated. However, no one noticed this event. Soon, a table of delicious food was ready. Yulia asked Iris about the specific situation of the mission. How did the scouting go? It seems to be deep in a valley ahead. But according to Wusi, we shouldn't need to do anything. So just eat in peace. Yulia nodded. Blue Hair asked, then what should we do after this mission ends? Aren't we going to defeat the Demon King? We need a plan. I think we should increase our manpower. Add about 2 or 3 more people. After all, I'm better at one-on-one duels and can't look after you guys. You also need subordinates to help you. Hearing this, Blue Hair said, I think with your strength, we can leave the fighting entirely to you. That's because you don't know me well enough to say that. If the battlefield is in the sea, no matter how many come, they'll have to kneel before me. But on land, I can't deal with many people. When I unsealed my power last time, I only recovered for a little over a minute. Hearing this, Blue Hair kept this in mind. It seems that in future battles with Yulia on land, it's better to avoid one-on-one and switch to gang beating. But right now, we're living meal to meal. We really don't have the energy to worry about any Demon King. However, after completing this mission, we can use the commission to solve our food and clothing problems temporarily. Saying that, they walked out of the tent, just in time to catch others coming to notify them to set off. So they followed the crowd along a canyon towards the mission location. But on the way, Yulia seemed to sense something. Like I said, we haven't reached the place to hunt the demon beast yet. She nodded to an adventurer walking alongside, then asked what? Yulia just said, things seem to have become complicated. The next second, with a roar, a powerful demon beast suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Seeing the demon beast appear, everyone immediately organized a fight. However, seeing the demon beast quickly suppressed, Blue Hair whispered, this beast's strength shouldn't be this weak. That's because he fights alone. Although his individual strength far exceeds humans, fighting alone puts him at a disadvantage. So it's the same being a king. You can't just be strong yourself. A true strong person can protect everyone and treat everyone well. That is a king. However, Yulia added, of course, I'm an exception right now. After all, I only have 2 subordinates, and I don't feel any respect for my subordinates at all. Hearing this, Blue Hair and Iris were numb. You are useless right now, too. Not some king, you jerk. At this moment, the battle was coming to an end. Seeing the demon beast being subdued, Iris whispered, great. Luckily, no accidents happened, but it's hard to say right now. Demon beasts, powerful individually like this, usually have ultimate moves. The next second, the demon beast's forehead burst with light. For a moment, a surging aura intimidated all the adventurers. Hearts skipped a beat. Everyone knew that if they were hit by this attack, they would probably die on the spot. Blue Hair added, this strike looks like it uses life as fuel, and judging by his state, he's burning his bridges for one last wave. After speaking, others also realized the seriousness of the situation. They immediately urged everyone to run first. But then they heard a shout, don't be afraid. Iris held the shield and shouted, I am here. Everyone then remembered, right, Iris's shield. It's known to block any attack. So amidst everyone's cheers, Iris couldn't wait. Yulia couldn't help asking, can you really withstand it? Don't worry, I've never felt like such a good person as I do now. So the monster attacked, and Iris raised a shield. The next second, a dazzling pillar of light poured down, instantly shattering Iris's shield. It even pierced through Iris's armor. Not completely through. Feeling the situation wasn't going as he imagined, countless question marks flashed above Iris's head. Yulia and the others who noticed this scene were dumbfounded. Amidst the rolling dust and everyone's shocked gazes, that they only saw the figure of the demon beast that had burned its life to release a desperate strike. Good news. Wait, although the demon beast died, but I seem to see Lord Iris falling apart. What is going on? Hearing this, Blue Hair immediately said, quick, we have to hide Iris. Yulia immediately shouted worriedly, Lord Iris. Then, with a 100-meter sprint, she rushed into the dust. Then looking at Iris lying on the ground, Yulia asked, are you okay? Immediately after, she quickly stuffed Iris in her chest pocket. What about these remains on the ground? No choice. If others find out there's no one inside the armor, we're done for. So the two looked at the abyss beside them. After a brief silence, the two started throwing the trash that no one knew who dropped on the ground. Watching his precious shield being disposed of, Iris shed bitter tears, because that shield took him 100 years to successfully craft, although the mission was completed, because the mission acceptor was the human form disguised by the elf. Without an officially certified death certificate, the elf's companions couldn't withdraw the reward on his behalf. Seeing that after busy working for half a day, it was another day of poverty, Yulia hurriedly comforted herself. Anyway, karma is about the same as powerful luck. For example, knowing later that a terrible thing was actually the beginning of a good thing. Maybe our bad luck is just like that. Speaking of which, karma is like rolling dice. Rolling a 6 once, and everything you do afterwards is lucky. So to change our bad luck, should we go roll a 6 now? At this time, Iris seemed to sense something and crawled out of Yulia's arms. Following Iris's gaze forward, the person appearing in the crowd was the big captain they met in the silent forest before. So back at Yulia's tent, the twin-tailed lowly looked at Iris in the water with difficulty. She didn't expect the legendary fairies to actually exist. Last time, because we left in a hurry, I didn't have time to introduce myself to my benefactor. The big guy hurriedly introduced himself as Kiricho. He is currently working under a hero in this area. Finding Yulia and the others was for an important matter, because the hero is investigating the strong combat fluctuations that occurred near this village not long ago. Blue Hair immediately understood. It was exactly what Yulia and he caused last time. Seeing Blue Hair's reaction, Kiricho also understood that they knew about it, and it was very likely caused by Yulia and the others. And the key problem was here. The hero is tracking the source of the combat fluctuations. If he discovers it was you guys, that would be bad. So you should run quickly. Blue Hair asked, what happens if we are discovered? Why do we have to run? Anyway, according to the hero's logic, possessing powerful strength but not being human is considered dangerous and will be eliminated. Moreover, the hero is very strong. With the power you showed in the silent forest, you definitely can't beat him. So run as far as possible. Hearing this, Yulia was speechless. Why was she always being targeted recently? As if recalling something bad. Anyway, the current hero is that kind of person. At this time, the twin-tailed lowly urged Kiricho, we still have business. We should set off. Hearing this, Kiricho thanked Yulia again and prepared to say goodbye and leave. But watching them leave, Blue Hair wanted to say something. Yulia looked at Blue Hair and fell in a deep thought. Then she walked into the tent and said, did you start all this? Blue Hair didn't understand the meaning of these words yet, because after meeting you, strange things happen frequently. So you broke my peaceful life. In other words, you're a jinx. Hearing this, Blue Hair was numb. Damn it, wasn't it that after meeting you, you broke my peaceful life? While the two were arguing, Iris heard them mention something. Kings. Immediately, Iris lifted the quilt. Right, the king's tomb. That's it. I remember now. There's a king's tomb nearby, right? It was built by the first king of humans. It has countless gold, silver, treasures, and weapons. Hearing this, Yulia was startled. Iris added, I am certain. It is somewhere nearby. And there must be materials for me to make a shield again, and treasures to make us worry-free about food and clothing. But that place has already been smashed by Yulia. Don't think about it. Yulia paused. Seems like that happened. Hearing this, Iris was dumbfounded. What nonsense are you talking about? So they arrived at the smashed mountaintop. Looks like we can't get in without clearing the stones. Blue Hair thought Iris's power cannot cause harm to living beings in reality, but it should be usable to clear these stones. That said, the problem isn't here. I want to ask, did you really find the king's tomb inside? Yulia nodded. Blue Hair added, I even spent 300 years there searching for the immorality technique left by the king, but it seemed empty inside. But you two idiots, from the moment you said you smashed the tomb, that I felt strange, because the king's tomb does not exist. Everything before your eyes is just a blindfold, just to prevent you grave robbers. Want my wealth and power? Then come my tomb. This was the declaration of the first human king before his death, as an existence who once defeated a powerful demon king. But he had a worry. That is, he was human after all. One day he would grow old and die. So if he was gone and the demon race returned, what should be done? Originally, the king could bestow his power on others. But if bestowed rashly, the recipient might be blinded by greed and breed evil thoughts. But time was tight. The king didn't have time to think carefully and select talents. So before the king could make his decision, the king passed away, and as the king predicted, the demon race also returned at this time. However, a page of the kings will begin to circulate among the people. Righteous heroes who are unswerving and determined to subdue the demon race. I have not passed away. Instead, I am waiting for you in my tomb with supreme treasures and powerful strength. So come find me. Everything you want is here. Iris finished telling the story of the king's tomb and said, "How is it? This story is cool, right?" Blue Hair just wanted to say it felt very average. Anyway, this happened thousands of years ago. This king is said to be buried near the capital of the human kingdom at that time. If we go there, we can find clues to the king's tomb. But looking at you, you probably don't know the specific route to the imperial capital. Iris was embarrassed. I have a rough impression. Anyway, let's go first. How long will it take roughly? Yulia opened the map and heard Iris say, about 2 days. Saying that, he pointed to a place on the map. But when Blue Hair saw it, he said, "It should be here. If it's the imperial capital of the Empire era, I still know a bit about it." Iris nodded, then I remembered wrong. Seeing this, Yulia was speechless. She felt Iris seemed unreliable. But since it wasn't far, they could go and see. But just then, they heard rapid panting. A person suddenly appeared from the woods and fell in front of Yulia and the others. Looking closely, this person had horns on his head. He didn't look human, and there were shackles on his hands and feet. Blue Hair immediately understood. It seems this guy is a demon race raised by humans. At this time, the Horn Man looked at everyone, saying, "You aren't humans, right? Save me." But the next second, an attack hit the Horn Man's neck. A person followed closely and appeared, mouth still saying, "Why aren't you running anymore?" Seeing this, Yulia just looked at the opponent's shackled hands and feet, murmuring, "I don't like this kind of character." But before Yulia could speak, the man who appeared later directly told them to go wherever they should go. But Yulia just said, "The young man lying on the ground, I will save him with this new harpoon in my hand." Saying that, she strode towards the man. Seeing Yulia's appearance, Iris really doubted where Yulia got her confidence. Should he tell her that actually she couldn't help much? Don't worry, didn't she say she is good at one-on-one? And the opponent is just an ordinary human, no problem. You know, human vital points are all over the body. Solving him won't take much effort. I say, Yulia probably didn't think about killing this person, right? He isn't. Resentment against this beautiful world. Anyway, you have to be a bit kinder. And at this moment, seeing a young girl actually dare to provoke him, the man laughed. But the next second, they only heard Yulia shout "Bah." Immediately after, like going crazy, she frantically waved her limbs. Her mouth was also accompanied by yelling. This made Iris and the other watch dumbfounded. What is she doing? Is she trying to launch some mental attack on the opponent? This maiden, when facing an enemy stronger than herself, suddenly became vicious. Like going crazy, she wildly twisted her limbs. While the opposing man was dumbfounded, he immediately reacted that this brat was looking down on him and playing him. Thinking of this, the man angrily wanted to move forward to teach the girl a lesson. But suddenly the man's movement stopped. Wait, something is wrong. After he carefully observed Yulia's movements, Yulia's actions actually made him feel a trace of dangerous strangeness. That's right. If you observe carefully, Yulia's movements are completely actions that can only be made after training. And there must be a reason for her doing this. The man began to get nervous. Then what surprised him even more was that the next second, Yulia actually disappeared from his field of vision. The man at this moment felt unprecedented terror rather than confusion. The body's instinct that made the man subconsciously concentrate all his attention, wanting to capture Yulia's movements. But this fell right into Yulia's trap. At this moment, Iris hadn't understood what Yulia planned to do. Blue Hair explained thoughtfully, "After all, that man has some strength. If the battle falls into the opponent's familiar rhythm, it will be troublesome." Anyway, everything she did was to create an illusion of a first-time battle rather than a familiar scene, since it makes the opponent nervous. And when people are nervous, their field of vision becomes smaller. Therefore, it will be broken by strange moves. Instantly, Yulia shouted, "Mermaid swordsmanship. Secret technique, flying sand." Instantly kicking up a patch of sand to blind the man's eyes. The man didn't expect to be hit by such a dirty trick, cursing this little girl for having so many tricks. At the same time, he decided to make Yulia pay for this. And at this time, although his vision was lost, through Yulia's movements he observed just now and his own experience, but he still made a prediction of Yulia's next move. This prediction should theoretically be reasonable. But don't forget, this is all judgment made by the man following Yulia's rhythm. So the attack missed. In an instant, by the time the man reacted, Yulia was already stepping on the man's body, holding the harpoon in front of him. I won. you little trash. So after saving the Horn Man, Blue Hair asked how to deal with him. Since we've intervened, let's take him with us first. But the man tied up behind, but couldn't help shouting, do you know what bad things this guy did? Taking him away won't bring you any good results either. Hearing this, Yulia shook her head. She didn't intend to listen to the man's nonsense. But I'm doing this for your own good. Do you know that getting too close to the demon race leads only to a dead end? Hearing this, Yulia paused. Little guy, I am not a human. On the way back, Blue Hair, because Yulia spared that man's life. That couldn't help saying, you always leave people alive like this. Maybe there will be trouble in the future. But Iris objected. What if one of them turns over a new leaf because of this and lives a different life? Why must we kill? Hearing this, Yulia turned back and said, don't argue. Only narrow-minded people care about such things. But speaking of which, what should we do with this guy? Yulia looked at the Horn Man she saved. Blue Hair thought for a while, then walked towards the Horn Man, immediately reaching out a hand under the other's fearful gaze. But the next second, Blue Hair quickly chopped at the Horn Man's neck. Instantly, 3 hourglasses appeared out of thin air. It's a type of curse in contracts. Blue Hair immediately explained, someone cast a curse on this guy. Maybe when he was caught by humans, or when he was starving, or any time he was weak. The Horn Man also remembered at this time. It seemed there was such a thing. Then where is that guy? If you want to lift the curse and regain your freedom, you have to find that guy. The Horn Man said fearfully that he had already killed that person. Is that so? That won't work. It can't be undone. Why? Yulia asked. Because what this guy has is a subordination series curse. Hearing this, Yulia paused. What is a subordination curse? Blue Hair was startled in his heart, but on his face he said, don't ask too much. Anyway, it's similar to the contract between you and me. It turns the other party into a slave who cannot refuse the master's orders. Hearing this, Iris said, then how did you kill your master? You should know that with a subordination curse, one would die with just a thought from a master, probably by sneak attack, while the master hadn't realized it yet. Yulia asked, then since his master is dead, there shouldn't be any problem. You should have seen the hourglasses on that guy's neck just now. That is a common curse in subordination curses called death sentence. It's an insurance device planted on him by his master. After the master dies, this guy will die after the sand in the 3 hourglasses runs out. Is there a way to unlock it? No. Every caster sets different restrictions. Therefore, only the caster can unlock it. But I didn't expect a human to possess this kind of power, because even among the demon race, few can do it. However, Iris said, what if we transfer this curse? I heard that the first king of the human race possessed the power to absorb strength from objects. My ability, however, is to bestow. If we can find a vessel in the king's tomb that can extract the contract from inside this guy, and then I use my power to bestow it onto something else, it might just work. Since that's the case, you should just follow us for now. I say, you don't even know who he is, yet you make a decision just like that? We were heading to that tomb anyway. It's just convenient. After all, we've already intervened. We can't just sit back and ignore it. So let's go. Heading to the king's tomb to seek the king's treasure. While everyone was in high spirits, Blue Hair was thinking. Looking at Yulia earlier, she didn't seem to know about subordination contracts. That means the contract she placed on herself isn't of the subordination type either. If that's the case, that man is the hero who fights demons and protects humanity. But his conduct is quite extreme. As long as something is related to demons, regardless of the reason or whether they are human, he will eliminate them. And on this day, a powerful battle fluctuation erupted within human territory. The hero, sensing this, had only one thought: to find the source of this battle fluctuation. If the cause was a demon, he would exterminate it. However, when the hero arrived at the scene of the battle, the only ones remaining were Wuxi and his group. But the hero knows Wuxi. Wuxi's power isn't enough to cause that kind of fluctuation. But in his subsequent search, he couldn't find any other source. So speak, what kind of incident did you encounter? The hero found Anna and the others again. And where did your captain, Wuxi, go? Is that all you want to ask? Black-haired Anna stared coldly at him. Blue-haired Aya looked equally indifferent. However, Aya spoke up, what a pity. We don't know the answer to either of your questions. Aya smirked. And even if we knew, we have no obligation to tell you. You should know who I am. I am the hero, and I have an obligation to protect humanity. You need to face reality. My meaning is that you might be dangerous elements. You were just a weakling not long ago. Aya slowly drew her weapon. How did you suddenly become so arrogant? Is it because you were chosen as the hero? But if you want to fight, just say so. You should know what it means to fight me. Yeah, I know very well. Last time, we were crushed without even a proper fight. That really pissed me off. So this time, let me share this. Defeat you bastard hero. In an instant, the battle began. Context note. Next, we will welcome a large section of Wuxi's exclusive plot. In it, there will be massive plot holes arranged by the author that haven't been explained, as well as the payoff for some foreshadowing. The narrator will try to explain it within the story based on their own understanding. If there are parts you don't understand, that's a pit left by the author. I didn't read it either. I'm just following the author's intent. On the other side, after Wuxi bid farewell to Yulia, he prepared to go meet his arranged companions. On the way, he was rejoicing, because he had mistakenly given Yulia a broken sword last time. Before leaving this time, he used a new sword as compensation to trade back for that broken sword. Yulia seemed quite satisfied with this too. However, Wuxi's steps halted. He sensed something approaching in the surroundings. He looked forward. From the originally empty forest, a person slowly walked out. It was the current hero. Found you. Also, Anna and Aya have been completely cleared. Instantly, Wuxi's killing intent erupted as he rushed straight at the hero. He swung his sword, but in front of the surging electric energy, there was nothing. The hero had strangely appeared further away. His movements were fast, but it didn't look like he was relying on high-speed movement. Otherwise, his clothes and hair would definitely be fluttering. So, is it something like dimensional movement? In just an instant, Wuxi had already analyzed some characteristics of the hero's ability. However, this guy is an even more powerful book. He isn't carrying it on his back. Is it hidden nearby? But in a flash, not allowing Wuxi to pause. A dazzling beam of light rushed straight towards him. Wuxi swung his sword and immediately cut it off. But the energy surged endlessly. It seemed there was another force outside. The next second, a loud noise rang out. A violent explosion mixed with smoke and dust seemed to swallow all sound. The hero was still pondering if that one strike had finished him. Wuxi, but a whistling sound of breaking air rang out. Several flying swords shot out from the smoke. While the hero dodged unhurriedly, he was counting the number of flying swords Wuxi had shot. According to his calculation, there was one flying sword Wuxi hadn't caught. In a flash, he looked behind him. Sure enough, a sword gleam shot out, grazing past him. The hero dodged, as if he had anticipated it. But the next second, Wuxi suddenly appeared behind the hero, holding another sword. Seems I underestimated you. But this strike still missed. Sensing the hero appearing behind his back, Wuxi asked in a chilling tone, "Why treat us like this? I am a hero. My mission is to remove factors that threaten humanity." Hearing this, Wuxi gritted his teeth. "I'm asking you about Anna and Aya. Were they factors threatening humanity too?" "Yes. After all, there are two types of threatening factors. One is the enemy. The second is a factor that will become an obstacle. In that battle fluctuation, what you are hiding belongs to the former, and you belong to the latter. I say, so is your enemy the demons? Of course. Could be humans? You're wrong. Hero, your enemy isn't the demons. It's anything that stands on the opposite side of you personally. Enough. I have no intention of wasting words with you." Saying that, the hero tore a page from the book in his hand. "To be honest, if you weren't on my opposite side, I would actually admire you." Seeing this, Wuxi shouted in anger, "Don't talk nonsense. Let's do this." In an instant, Wuxi threw the long sword in his hand upwards, while suspending it above his head. He was about to unleash his grace skill, but abruptly, Wuxi felt a tremor. Immediately after, he spat out a mouthful of black blood. He instantly realized that the damage from the explosion earlier was greater than he thought. Plus, using grace carried a significant burden, which was why he couldn't wait any longer. At this moment, the hero whispered, "Grace is a killing technique to be used only as a last resort. It cannot be used casually, otherwise there is a risk of it being seen through and exploited." Those are words you once said to me. And I also remember you seem to have never used the grace skill in front of me. As he spoke, another leaf silently burned. "Did you have your guard up against me from the start? But even though you were so careful, I still feel pity for you. By the way, can you not even distinguish which sword you summoned yourself?" Wuxi hadn't understood the meaning of these words yet. But the next second, the two swords above him suddenly changed direction. Then, only the tearing sound of Pucci was heard. the swords plunged into Wuxi's body. This young man aspired to become a hero who protects humanity. But when he grew up, he was killed by the hero. And at the moment of impending death, his consciousness seemed to return to the past. For a moment, his consciousness actually returned to when he was young. However, just as his childhood self was about to go play with his companions, a blank figure appeared in his consciousness. The blank figure seemed to know Wuxi. Wuxi looked around and asked, "Where is this?" For some reason, Wuxi felt a sense of familiarity with this figure. "This is the hometown where I was born. But unfortunately, not long after, this place suffered a demon beast attack. Only Anna and I were lucky enough to survive." Instantly, the surrounding scenery changed drastically. Appearing before the two of them again was the young Wuxi fighting the demon beast alone. Surviving in this situation doesn't seem as easy as you said. Yes, Wuxi recounted slowly. Because at that time, I hadn't learned swordsmanship, nor did I know any martial arts. But perhaps I wasn't fated to die. Just as I was fighting the demon beast, a miracle happened. A power erupted from within my body, actually finishing off that demon beast on the spot. Although I don't know what happened, it might be related to a dream I often had back then. I dreamt of a one-eyed, one-armed swordsman. He shouted something at me in the dream. Right, what did he shout? And what am I doing right now? Wuxi's consciousness blurred for a moment. Seeing this, the blank figure just whispered, "Are you about to lose your life again?" But the next second, "Hey!" The blank figure gave a soft snort, startling the fading Wuxi awake. Wuxi muttered, "Sorry, I zoned out." Then, after a brief silence, Wuxi asked, "Who are you? Is it Lord Yulia?" "No." Wuxi seemed to sense something. "I understand. You are that broken sword I brought back from Lord Yulia. Truly amazing. How did you appear here?" "I remember that broken sword was something I mistakenly gave to Lord Yulia." Wuxi prepared to start his rambling. "Pull yourself together, hero." In an instant, all illusions vanished. When Wuxi came to his senses again, the surrounding scenery returned to the place where he was fighting the hero. Everything just now was like a fleeting dream, no longer existing. What happened? I'm still alive? Wuxi felt the pain in his body. He was clearly pierced through by the long swords just now. He should be dead. Although his consciousness had cleared for a moment, the physical injuries were still not optimistic, and the hero was still nearby. What should I do? Feeling his vitality draining away rapidly again, Wuxi didn't know what the situation was. But the next second, Yulia's voice rang out, "Take me out." Wuxi reached into his chest pocket. What he took out from there was exactly that broken sword he had taken back from Yulia. At this very moment, the hero also sensed the resurrected Wuxi. No, he sensed the sword in Wuxi's hand. Damn it, how could my holy sword appear here? Holy sword? Facing the hero's rage, a voice rang out from the holy sword. "Foolish puppet, did you think you could seal me? I am the one who has faced the beginning and past of causality. The holy sword habble that controls its own destiny." In an instant, surging power poured out from Wuxi's body. His aura made even the hero look sideways. Clearly, he was the hero, yet the hero whispered, "Is this the fusion of the holy sword and a hero? Interesting." But immediately following that, his pupils contracted. Wuxi, carrying the holy sword, was already rushing straight at him. A sword thrust out. The teleportation ability activated again. The hero remained unharmed. Wuxi's mind was extremely calm at this moment. The opponent had never attacked after moving. This meant the movement ability had significant restrictions. In that case, after one strike, Wuxi threw the holy sword directly at the hero. And at this moment, the hero indeed couldn't attack. However, he still quickly turned sideways to dodge this strike. But the next second, a blank figure grabbed the holy sword. "Come back. Your opponents are two people." In an instant, the blank figure swung the sword, hacking at the hero. But the hero teleported far away again, watching the opponent scurry like a rat. The blank figure whispered, "Let's see where you run now." In an instant, magic lights flashed beneath him. Immediately, countless white waves shot out from them, rushing straight for the hero. Seeing the endless attacks forcing the hero to flee constantly. Suddenly, the blank figure's form blurred for a moment. Is it because the host's life is about to end? Like this, we can't continue fighting. In an instant, the figure dissipated. Wuxi jolted, his consciousness instantly clearing. Just now, his body felt like it was being piloted by someone else, before he could react to what was happening. But the hero wasn't idle at this moment. A massive magic circle was condensing in the sky. In an instant, rolling heavenly fire descended from the sky, heading straight for Wuxi. But don't be afraid. The blank figure's voice rang out again. Swing the sword. Wuxi instinctively obeyed that voice and thrust the sword out. He saw the flames dissipate, unable to get within half a step of him. Seeing this, Wuxi was shocked. He could feel the connection to the long sword in his hand, but he didn't know what this sword actually was. As if responding to Wuxi's doubt, "Listen well, Wuxi, you are the hero of humanity for this generation, and I am the Holy Sword. Although there is much I want to tell you, there isn't enough time. You are a dying man, and I activated my power only because I wanted to help you get revenge. Sorry, right now, this is all I can tell you." Hearing this, Wuxi's expression moved, but he said relaxedly, "It doesn't matter. I've been through worse situations than this. But in the end, there's always a way. So right now, I just need to do what's in front of me well." In an instant, Wuxi launched an attack again, but the hero burned another leaf. Instantly, several chains bound Wuxi. "Holy Sword, this is the curse art that once sealed you. Accept your fate. You can't escape the palm of my hand." But the next second, Wuxi's figure moved so fast it blurred, arriving right in front of the hero. He smashed directly into this beast's face. At this moment, Wuxi felt relieved of a heavy burden. From the dust, the hero climbed up, his face covered in blood, but he said, "Interesting. You coordinate well with the Holy Sword. And because of that, I confirm, Wuxi, you are indeed the hero of this generation. But each generation can only have one hero. And that person is me. I am a hero people need. As for you," instantly, a giant magic circle appeared in midair. "Let this send you on your return journey." At once, an indescribable pressure surged from the magic circle. The trees beneath it were snapped one by one. Wuxi was crushed to his knees by the pressure. The blank figure appeared again. "Is it because you haven't realized you are the hero for a long time? Your power is too weak. Moreover, your life is ending. There's nothing to be done." At this time, the blue-haired hero also launched his attack. Instantly, a dazzling white light shot towards the dying Wuxi. But in this critical moment, the blank figure seemed to prop up a shield, blocking in front of Wuxi. Watching Wuxi's figure, Wuxi whispered, "Sorry for being so weak. Is everything going to end now?" Looking at Wuxi, whose flame of life was already as faint as a firefly, the blank figure whispered, "I don't know if this will comfort you. However, I'm fighting together with you as a hero right now. I will pass on your mission, just like people inheriting a family genealogy, passing the torch." In an instant, the blank figure dissipated. Who knows how long ago, Aya asked, "I say, why do you want to be a hero so badly?" Wuxi was stunned. Then he said, "If I have to say, it's my dream. You should know, countless heroes have failed up to now, and the hero's companions have all died too. Do you think you'll be different from them?" Wuxi smiled. "It's just like rolling dice. Although it's hard to roll a 6 at once, if you roll enough times, it will happen eventually. Even if we don't succeed, someone will eventually become the hero and defeat the Demon King. And we just need to keep this going continuously. Besides, maybe it will be me. Someone has to take up the responsibility of the hero, right? Moreover, the greatest significance of a hero's existence is to be able to always exist. Someone can fight on behalf of humanity. Humanity's safety, having someone always protecting them, is what's most important. Also, I don't feel at ease leaving such an important matter to others. So it's better if I do it. Then do you have confidence in succeeding?" "Of course, I have confidence." Back to the present. At this moment, Wuxi, as the hero of humanity, completed his mission. He sleeps eternally here. And from the black shadow at the blue-haired hero's feet, a robed figure suddenly appeared in front of him. "You did very well. The corpse is also very complete. I spent a lot of effort to stay behind just now." The black-robed man turned around, about to say a few words, but a magic circle suddenly lit up beneath his feet. In an instant, a pillar of light descended from the sky. It enveloped the black-robed man. In the blue-haired hero's astonished gaze, the black-robed man appeared again. "Damn it, lost another life." After speaking, the black-robed man looked to the side. The next second, appearing before their eyes was actually the captain of the mercenary squad, Kiricho. "Are you leaving?" "I say, aren't they the group you're responsible for?" "Sorry, forgot to mention. I'm too weak, so I didn't fight." Hearing this, the blue-haired hero was speechless. At this moment, Kiricho stared closely at the opponent. He seemed to recognize the black-robed man. He thought to himself, since the other party is with the hero, they're also related to the church. Then he looked back, only to see the sorrow on his companion's face. Wuxi is dead. Hearing this, Kiricho sighed. "Is that so? But it's fortunate we could retrieve the body. On the other side, the black-robed man asked the blue-haired hero, "What are your plans now?" "Anyway, my mission is complete. Since the situation has changed, we should go." "But will they let us leave?" "Relax. That big guy is someone with self-awareness." After speaking, the two displayed their respective abilities and instantly vanished from the spot. Watching the two leave, the twin-tailed lowly asked, "We're just letting them go like that?" Kiricho only responded, "The time is not yet right." Thus that night, before the fire pile burning Wuxi's body, Kiricho stared blankly in a daze. Then he said, "Causality has begun to fall into chaos. Forces that allow existence and wills that do not allow existence are fighting. And this time, it's the forces allowing existence. So this world is restarting." Who did you hear that from? It was that fortune teller who guided me to the silent forest. Although I don't really understand the meaning of those words either. At this moment, two figures came up behind the group. "With this, we owe you two favors. You saved us, and you saved Wuxi. But I'm sorry, I couldn't save Wuxi's life. I arrived too late. I couldn't save him when he passed away as a hero. Thank you for thinking that way. Also, don't worry. I will wait until only ashes remain here before leaving. Do you have any plans?" In the past, we kept fighting not to become heroes, but to realize his dream. But now, since the light has vanished, then we will live on in the darkness. We will continue to fight. However, from now on, it is for revenge. The two were precisely Anna and Aya, who should have been killed by the blue-haired hero. This group learned of a treasure location and wanted to go search for it. But when they arrived at the abandoned king's city, where the treasure was buried, they were stopped by an 80-meter-high city wall. Yulia touched the smooth wall and said, "Looks like there's no way to climb it," just as the group was helpless. "I say, what are you guys doing?" Behind everyone, a sentinel patrolling nearby actually appeared. "This place can only be entered by level 2 adventurers. You guys don't look like you have the qualifications. Sorry, we aren't very clear on these matters." "It's fine, but it's my shift right now. It wouldn't be good if something happened to you nearby. So come back tonight when my colleague is on duty." Yulia nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes, yes. After saying that, the sentinel left. But watching the man leave, Yulia suddenly said, "What did that guy say just now?" Blue Hair shook his head, indicating he didn't understand human affairs much. Iris also added a +1. Good grief. It looked like they were conversing just now, but actually, none of them were on the same channel. But speaking of which, Yellow Hair said, "If it's just moving to the top of the wall, I have a way." Saying that, he picked up Yulia. "But I say, slave, let me go before I get angry." Then, with a whoosh, only Blue Hair remained on the spot, and that Yellow Hair floated into mid-air, carrying Yulia. Yulia tried to look inside the city wall, but her gaze froze. After the two landed on the wall, Yulia said, "I knew Iris, that guy, wasn't reliable." Inside the city wall, appearing before Yulia wasn't some king city. It was actually a bottomless giant pit. Iris didn't know what was going on either. He clearly heard from a very reliable person that this place wasn't like this. At this moment, Blue Hair transformed into a bat, also followed up. But immediately after, he said, "Something is coming towards us." The next second, a phantom shadow shot out from the bottom of that deep pit. Thump, thump, thump. A fox actually appeared before everyone's eyes. Once upon a time, there was a fox who was passionate about adventuring. But one day, he encountered an attack by humans. Injured, he realized that a talking fox didn't seem to be liked by people. Thus, he decided to make a wish to his fox bead, which could grant any wish. "As long as I turn into a human, there won't be any trouble." But when he arrived at the place where he hid his fox bead, he discovered that his fox bead, along with the hiding spot, had completely vanished, turning into a big pit. Amidst tears, the fox never gave up looking for his fox bead. "Anyway, that's how it is. I've been looking for my fox bead here for another 50 years. Until today, down below, I sensed a great existence like you." So, Yulia looked at the fox. "So, can you help me find my fox bead?" The fox went straight for a fawning nuzzle. However, upon sensing the presence of Blue Hair nearby, the fox restrained himself a bit. Then he added, "Anyway, you've heard of the fox's repayment, right? I won't forget your kindness." Hearing this, Yulia just wanted to say, "I feel like I've gotten involved with strange things again. So, let's organize the intel for now." Saying that, she looked at Iris. The fox also noticed Iris's existence eyes and said a sentence. "You look so strange." Iris responded, "You're too kind. Same to you." Immediately after, Iris spoke up. He heard from others that 100 years ago, this place wasn't like this. The fox, however, said that the time frame could be shortened a bit because he hid the fox bead here 60 years ago. However, I was injured and recuperating for 10 years. When I came back to find the fox bead, this place had vanished. That implies 60 years ago, there was still a city here, but disappearing suddenly within 10 years. Is that possible? Hearing this, Blue Hair said, "How about this? We go to a nearby village to ask for information." After all, by human standards, 50 or 60 years isn't that long. Such a large piece of land disappearing isn't a small matter. There might be records and witnesses. Everyone agreed it was a good idea. Blue Hair then said, "Iris, and that slave, as well as the fox, you guys scout the nearby area first." "Why?" "I want to go with you. We are going into the village. You guys look too strange. It's not suitable for you to show your faces. So, we'll meet again at night." Watching Yulia and the others leave, the fox said, "Since it's come to this, why don't you guys come with me to a place? I have something I need to do every day." Iris naturally had no issue. By the way, Iris asked, "Can I sit on your back?" Of course. However, the fox quickly looked at the slave. "But you can't." Yellow Hair laughed loudly and nodded hastily. Thus, the group followed the fox. On the way, the fox couldn't help but ask for their names. After learning Iris, Yulia, and Yellow Hair's name was a birch, the fox asked, "Then what is that blue cat called?" "That's unclear. It seems even Yulia doesn't know." Hearing this, the fox's heart stirred. It seems these people still don't know his identity. Good thing I didn't try to get too close. Thinking this, the fox seemed to sense something. He said, "We've arrived." At the foot of the mountain was a household. Inside, an old man was reading a book. The fox just stared blankly at that person. Then he heard Iris ask, "By the way, what is your name?" "My name is Halila." Iris laughed. "Your name sounds really nice." "Yes, someone said I was pretty, so they gave me this name." A young girl came to the abandoned ancient capital of humanity to find treasure, only to discover that the entire city had turned into an invincible toxic pit 60 years ago. Curious about this matter, the girl and her companion went to a nearby village to find the origin of the event. However, after consulting the materials, all documents were vague about the incident. Just then, the bookstore owner noticed the two might need help and stepped forward to ask. However, hearing that the two were looking for news of the king's tomb buried in that abandoned ancient capital, the old man smiled. Few of the younger generation know about this, but I happen to know. Actually, that ancient capital sank due to an earthquake 60 years ago. However, there is actually another rumor. Want to hear it? It is said that 60 years ago, a thick fog once rose in the forest near that city. A young girl accidentally got lost in it. But just when the fog was at its thickest, a violent vibration rose from all around. When the vibration stopped, not only did the fog disperse, but when the girl looked up, her eyes saw an indescribable sight. The ancient capital that once belonged to humans was explicitly floating in the sky at that moment. So, according to the legend, the ancient capital didn't sink into the ground, but ascended to the heights of the sky. It might even still be in the sky now. Yulia stroked her chin. This story is quite interesting, but at this moment, Blue Hair urged Yulia somewhat anxiously. "We should go." Yulia asked why the rush. Blue Hair said, "That talking fox we met earlier. I remember who he is. The fox bead the guy asked us to find is actually named Rui. It's a cursed object and also a legendary item that can grant wishes." Grant wishes? Yulia felt she had heard of it somewhere. Anyway, that fox and his fox bead are both from another place, not our land. Speaking of this, Blue Hair couldn't help but recall the scene when he first met that fox 1,000 years ago. Back then, he could still transform into a human shape and had just arrived in this world. Because he was unfamiliar with the place, he asked me for information for a while back then. I didn't expect that after so many years, not only has his appearance changed, but he also remained here. "Hey, are you listening to me?" Yulia shook her head. "No, I'm saying, can't you summarize it in one sentence? You talk too much." In short, that fox might be an enemy. On the other side, Iris heard the fox, Halila, introduce himself as coming from another world, and his eyes were full of curiosity. Although normally this is impossible, my fox bead can turn all impossibilities into possibilities. But just then, Iris heard a loud shout. Yulia appeared behind the two. "Hey, are you alright? This fox seems to be an enemy." Iris hadn't reacted yet. Blue Hair followed closely behind and arrived, saying at the same time, "Nine-tailed fox, I remember you." Why did you approach me? The nine-tailed fox was startled. Actually, he had recognized Blue Hair long ago. Originally, he blamed Blue Hair a bit for not recognizing him immediately, but now that Blue Hair remembered, he wasn't that happy either. Sensing the killing intent from Blue Hair, the nine-tailed fox said, "Let's talk this over." But Blue Hair kept pressing about his motive for approaching them. "Actually, I didn't approach you intentionally. It's you guys who appeared near me. I say, calm down first, Lord Raydrad." But the moment the nine-tailed fox spoke this name, Iris's expression tightened. Wait a minute. Iris's face looked unnatural. That implies your name is Raydrad? Feeling Iris's gaze, Blue Hair said, "What? Is there a problem?" Iris didn't respond, only saying, "For fairies, there's an unwritten rule. That is, we must sever ties with the mortal world and live on without thought or desire." But I couldn't do it. Iris recalled the few human friends he once had. They used to be human warriors, but they all died at the hands of the Demon King. The moment I learned the news, I had a heart for revenge and was thus driven out of the elf tribe. However, before leaving, the Elf Queen once told Iris that if he wanted to return to the elf tribe, besides severing ties with the mortal world, he must not harm any living being of the current world during this period, except for a person named Raydrad, because he is the very source of Iris's bond of revenge. That is, the current Demon King. So, I'm the fairy Iris from Jinsokyo. Demon King, I have come to avenge the warriors. In an instant, intertwined tree roots entangled Blue Hair's claws. Immediately after, Iris manipulated the roots to fling Blue Hair violently upwards, throwing him right above that abandoned giant pit. There is no one else here to interfere. If I kill you here, not only can I get revenge, but I can also return to myself. At this moment, Blue Hair still didn't know why Iris was attacking him, only saying, "Although I don't know why you attacked, you definitely have to." Facing Iris, who had no intention of stopping, "Since that's the case, I'll return those words to you. You be a bit kinder," he thought. Blue Hair retorted with a phrase he often said to him, and Iris directly responded with a sentence: "Inevitable death." Countless sharp wooden spikes surged toward Blue Hair. But just then, the scars on Blue Hair's face faded, which meant his seal was lifted. The power of the ancient demon returned once more. Seeing this, Iris was shocked. The condition for Blue Hair to release his power isn't only when Yulia is threatened. At this moment, Blue Hair was also truly surprised. "It seems my guess was wrong. The subordination contract Yulia signed with me has problems fundamentally. But now is not the time to consider these things. There seems to be a misunderstanding between us. But it doesn't matter. I didn't like the look of you anyway. I'll let you witness my power." This elf wanted to make friends with humans, but didn't expect the other party to be the Demon King in disguise. And the Demon King had once killed his good friends. Thus, the elf turned hostile on the spot, intending to destroy the Demon King first. However, the Demon King with unleashed power was strong and possessed immortality. No matter how many times the elf killed the Demon King, he couldn't be completely killed. Iris gritted his teeth. He didn't expect Blue Hair to have the power to evade death. And just then, a large swarm of bats expanded and flew out. The originally killed Blue Hair resurrected once again. "Although I really want to kill you, I'm afraid Yulia wouldn't forgive us if I did. Since that's the case, I'll just discipline you." In an instant, countless sharp spikes surged out from the darkness, stabbing toward Iris's body. Iris gritted his teeth. It had already reached a desperate moment. The next second, he curled his body tight. Immediately after, he suddenly spread his four wings. In a flash, countless points of bright light rushed out in all directions. And wherever the light filled, suddenly, it was like wiping a glass door. Everything was annihilated and taken away by a strange force. On the other side, feeling the battle fluctuations in the distance, Yulia put her hands on her hips and said, "I say, I don't understand. Why did they suddenly start fighting?" Saying this, she wanted the nine-tailed fox and the others to go over with her to check. But feeling the terrifying residual heat of the battle, the two just wanted to say, "Are you sure?" On the other side, Blue Hair leaped out of the black pit. In the narrow space, Iris's indiscriminate large-scale attacks made him feel restricted. However, just then, a blinding light lit up overhead. At the same time, dense earth element condensed. The next second, a giant hand generated out of thin air, instantly grabbing Blue Hair. But it was only for a split second. A dense black mist rose from the giant hand again, rising out. Immediately after, breaking through, Blue Hair appeared behind Iris. "I say, don't you understand yet? With your power, you can't resolve this. and as injuries accumulate, your stamina will keep dropping, while I'm unaffected by this. So even if I do nothing now, you probably won't last much longer. And at this moment, Iris's state was indeed a bit incorrect. The next second, the face he turned around seemed to have distorted. Blue hair paused. He immediately understood. This was Iris falling into hatred, gradually beginning to degenerate, just like the monster in the silent forest before. Although I really want to see what Iris will become if he continues to degenerate, remembering Yulia's care for this guy, I feel like I should stop here. He landed behind him. So, wait a minute. You've actually got this wrong. First of all, I am not the Demon King, and I have never been the Demon King. You learned that Rage Rat is my name and assumed I was the Demon King. Actually, that's a huge mistake, because Rage Rat isn't my name. It's my surname. You idiot. Just like there are many people with the same surname. I just happen to share a surname with the Demon King. So, all of this is just your own imagination. The next second, a big slap landed on the back of Blue Hair's head. I say, why did you guys suddenly start fighting? I don't care. Are you trying to fight over who is second in command behind my back, the captain? Or, anyway, before fighting, you must get my permission as the captain. Asshole, what fighting? We were just about to reconcile. Hearing this, Yulia went straight to, what the FCK? You dare talk back to the captain? Watch me plaster my size 28 foot on your face. But speaking of which, why you fought, you should explain it to me. Iris was silent for a moment. His memory seemed to return to when he first met the ancient warriors. Legend has it that the elf tribe has a special rule. As long as a human can find the place where they live, they can receive a kiss from the elf elder as a blessing of good luck bestowed by the elf tribe. However, for an unknown length of time, the place where the elf tribe lived was never found by humans. Until this day, a group of human heroes accidentally entered a primeval forest. Then they saw the legendary sprite-like elves and realized they had arrived at the elf homeland that no one had ever set foot in. The heroes' arrival quickly received the grace of the elf queen. However, the yellow-haired woman traveling with them said that their group had another request. They once heard a fortune teller say that the elf tribe possessed one of the world's top forging masters. Therefore, they wanted that master to forge a weapon for them. The elf queen had no objection. That the hero could set foot in the elf territory meant the luck of the entire world was helping the hero. She was also willing to befriend the hero. But that child is a bit shy. You have to play a game of hide and seek with her first. Only by winning her approval will it work. So next, let me see where you are. Oh, you're here. After several games of tag, the hero used a bowl of peanuts to win the approval of the elf, Iris. I didn't expect an undefeatable demon king to exist in the outside world. This is the first time I've heard of such a thing. The hero incidentally told Iris about the outside world. It is said that the original demon king even killed the king of the demon race. Of course, the king of the demon race here refers to the patriarch of the demon species, not the demon king. But based on what you said, you guys can't beat that demon king either, right? Not necessarily. The demon king is about to lose his life. Because of the grace I received from the church, the skill is foresight, so I saw the scene of the demon king being defeated. The hero nodded. Anyway, we won't lose. However, the hero paused. Actually, I'm not sure if this foresight ability comes from the Pope. Hearing the warrior say this, Iris was surprised. This matter is significant. You can't reveal it casually. Don't worry, rarely anyone comes here, right? Iris nodded. Since I was born, you're the first humans I've seen. By the way, Iris, how old are you? I haven't counted carefully, but if you compare the time a human spends in a lifetime to a drop of water, and have a water vat the size of a normal human, the time I've lived could probably fill 5 water vats. Like that, instantly, the group fell into contemplation. But since no one has come for such a long time, it seems fine to reveal this secret. Anyway, just like some adventurers and hunters not accepted by the church can also awaken powers, my foresight power should also be unrelated to the church. Of course, we are still investigating this matter. Seeing Iris looked a bit confused, the hero immediately understood. This matter was still too complex for the unworldly Iris. So, let me tell you a story about a scale. Thus, after listening to the story, Iris smiled. I'm very satisfied. So, I decided to give you a choice between 2 options. You can't find me to forge a weapon, right? As it happens, my ability is enchantment. I can attach my own magic to any object and let it gain special abilities, like scissors that can cut anything or boots that can fly. And this time, I decided to forge a weapon for you too, and I will inject all my magic into it. Hearing this, the warrior was shocked. Why would you go to such lengths for me? Anyway, I have my own thoughts too. As you can see, for a long time, I haven't left this place. Although the nature of elves makes me not dissatisfied with this. After hearing your story, I started to get interested in the outside world. A weapon injected with all my magic is equivalent to my clone. You can use it to destroy the Demon King or other guys. And when you complete your goals and return here, not only can I take back my power, but I can also perceive the experiences of the clone and the weapon outside. So, whether for you or for me, it could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. So make a choice. Do you want a sword that will absolutely never be destroyed, or a shield that can defend against everything? Thus, 1 year later, the heroes planned to say goodbye, and the hero obtained a sword that would absolutely never be destroyed from Iris. Although Iris still wanted to forge a shield, it would take 100 years. This was too long for the hero, who was human. However, the hero comforted Iris. Whether it's 10 years or 20 years, you say it's one book? I don't know exactly how long. But if you finish it and I haven't defeated the Demon King yet, give it to me then. If nothing unexpected happens, I will come back. Hearing this, the Elf Queen pondered for a moment. Thus, after the farewell, Iris cried and told the Elf Queen that she would definitely create the shield to block all attacks for them. Hearing this, the Elf Queen only whispered, "All right." But before Iris could create the shield, the warriors crusading against the Demon King failed. The Elf Maiden made friends with the human warrior and promised to make a divine sword and a divine shield for the hero. Who would have thought time was tight? The hero only came to retrieve the just completed sword, then went to challenge the Demon King. By the time the elf made the shield, the hero had already been killed by the Demon King. Because of this, the elf left home to avenge the warrior, looking for the Demon King. Unexpectedly, after finding the Demon King and fighting him, he realized he had the wrong person. So, I spent 100 years making the shield, then wandered for 100 years, and finally met you. And I mistook blue hair for the Demon King. Iris explained to the group. However, Blue Hair said, "That doesn't seem right. From when you met the hero until now, it's only been 100 years. But you said shield plus wandering took 200 years. This doesn't add up at all." Iris shook his head. "Is that so? I didn't count carefully. Anyway, after counting from 1 to 10, I treat all numbers after that as 100. But just then, the nine-tailed fox suddenly said, 'Those warriors you mentioned. I seem to know them.'" Iris was a bit surprised and let the nine-tailed fox speak. "Didn't I say before? 60 years ago, I was ambushed. Those people were clearly very young, but the swords in their hands were unexpectedly powerful. So the culprit that caused my severe injury turned out to be you." This guy ignored the two. Yulia just said, "It seems things are finally clear now." Correct. And through this, we understand why Iris follows us. It's because his goal is the same as yours. Both are to defeat the Demon King, right? While the group was talking, someone was approaching them rapidly. "By the way, did you mention my fox bead just now?" Anyway, we didn't find it down in that black pit. However, when asking for information. But before Blue Hair could finish speaking, the next second, a person descended from the sky. It was precisely the contemporary hero. "Good, I found you. And none of you are humans. Perfect to catch you all in one net." Instantly, the magic book in his hand flashed with light. Sensing Yulia was threatened, the seal on Blue Hair's body was lifted again. But it was a step too late. The book hero's attack had already launched. However, at this critical moment, the nine-tailed fox leaped up and actually blocked in front of everyone. "I say, who is this guy?" The nine-tailed fox looked at the book hero, but Blue Hair didn't know either. He just thanked the nine-tailed fox. At the same time, he said, "It seems that even without the Rui bead, you have decent power. Although not peak, if facing magical attacks that don't reach your level, they can't hurt you. That's great, because this way I can kill this guy with peace of mind." In an instant, Blue Hair pressed forward. The book hero flashed backward. Something's wrong. He could feel an unprecedentedly powerful strength from Blue Hair. Great power. Thus he whispered, "Good thing I didn't come alone. Otherwise, facing you guys, I would have suffered a big loss." Hearing this, Blue Hair reacted instantly. Immediately after, he turned his head violently to look at Yulia's position. But unbeknownst to him, someone had appeared in front of Yulia. It was actually the first-generation hero, Walla, who existed 2,000 years ago and should have been long dead. Walla's eyes slowly opened. "Immediately after, I applied to declare war on you." In an instant, the marker of a duel with life at stake appeared on Yulia. The skill pre-war declaration activated. The human hero discovered a group of monsters in human form gathering. He decided on the spot to catch them all. Unexpectedly, this group of people from left to right were the king of the great sea, the demon king of the land, the nine-tailed fox of the other world, and the equally powerful and rare fairy. Sensing the opponent's powerful magic, the hero said, "Good thing I didn't come by myself." In an instant, the first-generation hero Walla, who should have died long ago, actually, that appeared strangely. Immediately after, Walla activated the skill pre-war declaration. He actually dragged Yulia into a gray barrier. Seeing this, Blue Hair panicked. Yulia's power was still sealed, and Walla's power was not trivial. Facing him alone, the situation was truly optimistic. However, just as Blue Hair charged at the barrier, wanting to rescue Yulia, his charging body was instantly bounced away by the barrier. Blue Hair immediately understood. It seems that without a special attack, it's impossible to break it. Since that's the case, I'll destroy you first. For a moment, countless black spikes surged toward the book hero. However, the book hero used a teleport and dodged this move. However, another sharp spike shot straight for the book hero from the cluster of black light just now. And when the book hero dodged, unexpectedly, Blue Hair had taken the opportunity to arrive behind him, ready to attack. Thinking of the teleportation ability he possessed, the book hero was just about to mock, "Wait to catch me." But the next second, he only heard a paw sound. Amidst the whistling of the empty air, that foot kicked solidly on the book hero's face. "Don't worry, I haven't used force yet. In the end, I'll leave you a breath, so you can answer my questions." Hearing this, the hero gritted his teeth. Blue Hair's arrogance made him feel disgusted. However, the momentary disadvantage allowed him to quickly calm down and reevaluate the battlefield. First, it was fortunate that the other two demons hadn't made a move, and Blue Hair fighting him was powerful. He looked like the boss of these people, but I clearly felt that Pink Loli was more threatening. What is going on? But since she's left to his companion, that should be fine. But just then, in the hero's perception, a strong threat appeared. The next second, an aura of death condensed on Blue Hair's hand. In an instant, the hero's breathing stopped. He immediately used full power to teleport across the valley. And the mountain forest below, where he was just now, was instantly slashed with a long scar of unknown length. Feeling that powerful strength beyond comprehension, the book hero felt it for the first time. And after this strike, Blue Hair's figure disappeared. The hero hurriedly searched for his figure. But the next second, a giant hand pressed directly on his face. It was Blue Hair, and no matter how he struggled, he couldn't break free. Now you can't run, right? Don't rush. The good show has just begun. Instantly, Blue Hair exerted force, pressing the hero against the ruined city wall nearby. Immediately after, he pressed the hero and rubbed him 360 degrees against the wall. Meanwhile, inside the barrier, Yulia's whole body was entangled in chains. Then, as if heavily injured, she slowly woke up. But before she could look around, the next second, memories flooded into her mind. In them, Blue Hair had already been killed by Walla with one sword strike, right in front of her. And the second crystal of the holy relic pendant Yulia had in life was also shrouded in black mist at this moment. Immediately following the sword piercing the body, Yulia fell into a pool of blood. The memory ends, returning to the present. Did I lose? Yulia seems to somewhat understand the current situation. It was Wallace standing before Yulia. It seems you finally understand, Yulia, no matter if you were the king of the sea or whatever before. In short, coming to the land without knowing the immensity of heaven and earth leads to this outcome. Your companion is already dead, but I still have use for you. So I won't kill you, but I'm only sparing your life temporarily. That girl was once the powerful king of the sea, but now she is chained up by someone. Even so, she is constantly humiliated with the fact of her defeat. However, despite this, Yulia showed no signs of panic. Instead, she said, "Hey, Brat, this illusion of yours can even affect my mind. It's quite impressive. Although it only made me panic for a moment, it's worth praising. But if you used other reasons, you might have fooled me. But you just said I was right. Losing to such a petty trick. Don't look down on people, kid." Wallace smiled helplessly. Being seen through by you is bad. Because of this, my loss will be great. In an instant, the space around Yulia shattered. Amidst a crashing sound, a mirror shattered on the ground. Walla picked it up. At the same time, he said, "This is a holy relic called Dream of Zhuangzi. It was what made you see that hallucination just now." although Yulia seems to have heard the name of Holy Relic somewhere. But the hero continued, and besides the dream of Zhuangzi, the nine-tailed fox's Rui map, and the necklace you had in life are all holy relics. Although in my hometown they are called this, you people here seem to call them forbidden objects. However, these things have one characteristic. That is, they deviate from the law of causality you mentioned. In the Silent Forest, you once said that low-level causality cannot affect high-level causality. But holy relics are not bound by this causality, or rather laws. Just like how the necklace on you can seal your strength, holy relics override the highest laws. If you had believed the memory given to you by the dream of Zhuangzi just now, those hallucinations would have immediately become reality. What a pity, discovered by you. Yulia tilted her head. Really, there are so many strange things on land. Don't worry. The moment you saw through it, it was destroyed. I don't know who designed it. A bit lacking in mind, isn't it? I don't have the qualification to evaluate. After all, this body of mine is also crafted. Say, you should be able to see through this body to my true entity behind it, right? Walla didn't lie, but his expression said everything. As expected, I feel a bit annoyed now, like being seen naked. Walla just said, your observation skills are truly extraordinary. Now I'm actually curious. What does this world look like in your eyes? You can see those things in the world that transcend laws. The air fell silent for a moment. Yulia said, whether it's the observation skills you mentioned or whatever, I'm not too smart, so I can't tell you accurately. But let's put it this way. I see this world revolving around me. I'm like the protagonist in a story. Although I'm not sure what the laws you mentioned are, according to the causality I speak of, it is indeed so. Walla thought Yulia was being perfunctory with him. So whenever you encounter a question that is hard to answer or you don't want to answer, you attribute it to causality? Of course not. I just feel it will be troublesome to continue explaining. But at this moment, Yulia seemed to sense something. That companion of yours outside seems to be losing his life. Immediately, Yulia sighed again. The winner has clearly been decided. Is that guy still playing with your companion? I don't really like this kind of thing. Looks like I have to go out and talk to him. So, do you have any other tricks now? No. If there is one, it's that there's no way out of here. Even if you use that necklace of yours, you can't do anything. And you and I can only compete to see who dies of old age here first. Then the remaining person can go out. How about it? Isn't this a very romantic thing? Hearing this, Yulia put her hands on her hips. Are you done talking? Walla was stunned. If there's nothing else, I'm going out first. Don't waste your effort. This is a space I created. Only the one among us who survives can go out. Thus, Yulia was speechless. Accompanied by the creaking sound of the surrounding space, she said, how many times do you need me to say it for you to understand? Idiot, I said this is useless against me. In an instant, the space shattered. The barrier broke. This man signed a slave contract, the most humiliating among the demon race. Because of this contract, as long as the master has a thought, they can take away the signed person's life. Simply put, this contract is a slave contract where one must obey the master to not lose their life. Since signing the contract, Blue Hair believed he had no more freedom. But it was strange. Gradually, he discovered that the contract he signed with Yulia seemed fundamentally different from a normal slave contract. First, his power was sealed. This is an effect far beyond a slave contract. Secondly, among the two constraint conditions Yulia set for him, only if Yulia dies, he will also die, and his power will only unseal when Yulia is in danger were present. The clause in a slave contract where the servant dies at the master's thought was not mentioned at all. And through previous contact, Blue Hair was certain that Yulia didn't know about the slave contract at all. And if what he signed wasn't a slave contract, it also meant there was a possibility for him to return to freedom. Coincidentally, encountering an enemy now, compared to recovering his power, he had a bold idea he wanted to try. However, it concerned his own life and death. Blue Hair knew he had to be cautious, and cautious again. So in the following confrontation, Blue Hair deliberately let himself be hit multiple times by Rylad's attacks, then took the opportunity to check Yulia's reaction. However, as the injuries accumulated, the scene he envisioned never appeared. And now, heavily injured, it would be dangerous even if he regained his freedom. At this moment, seeing Blue Hair pinned down by him, strange patterns simultaneously bloomed on Rylad's wounds. He smiled, and Blue Hair also noticed the difference. Those patterns seemed to carry a force of animal instinct, pressing him down so he couldn't stand steady. The reason the opponent could be called the super speed knight among the heroes of past generations is this. His attacks actually carry a weight increasing and speed reducing effect. As long as the opponent is slower than him, then he is the fastest. However, facing the disadvantage, Blue Hair was still pondering about his contract. Yulia can recover power through that holy relic necklace of hers, and he can liberate power because of Yulia. But when he fought Iris before, Yulia clearly wasn't threatened, but his power was liberated all the same. How is that possible? Plus, when they first met, he had once killed Yulia. At that time, Yulia clearly had no breath, yet she came back to life. In an instant, amidst the massive amount of information, a flash of inspiration suddenly lit up in Blue Hair's mind. He understood. He understood the true trigger of that contract. And at this time, seeing Blue Hair at a disadvantage, the nine-tailed fox wanted to support a bit. But Rylot directly backhanded him with a sword strike. In an instant, the nine-tailed fox was hit. He directly lay on the ground without a temper, preparing to act cute to see if he could make the opponent spare his life. But just then, Blue Hair was indeed poisonous, suddenly attacking from behind. However, the heavily injured Blue Hair was too slow in Rylot's eyes. A backhand sword strike directly pierced through Blue Hair's body. Immediately after, he pinned Blue Hair firmly to the ground. Seeing that Blue Hair was no match and seemed like he would lose immediately. Yulia, it shouldn't be. Based on Blue Hair's strength, an opponent of this level should be a match for you. Suddenly, as if thinking of something, Yulia abruptly looked at the necklace before her. However, the 3 crystals, 1 black and 2 green, still hadn't changed at all. Seeing this, Yulia fell silent for a moment. Then she looked at Blue Hair splattered with blood under the city wall, revealing a triumphant smile. Sure enough, the contract on me isn't slavery. At this moment, looking at Yulia's expression, combined with his own deduction, Blue Hair understood. The contract on him wasn't just that if Yulia lost her life, he would too. If he lost his life, Yulia wouldn't lose hers. That is to say, this is another kind of contract of life equality. Damn, this really is a big harvest. Blue Hair was unprecedentedly stable at this moment. As long as it's not slavery, Yulia can't manipulate his life. He would have time to find out what exactly the contract that allows people to share life is. And as long as the contract can be found, there must be a way to dissolve it. And at this time, Rylot laughed. You kid, being beaten the whole time, yet you're absent-minded during the fight. Are you looking down on us? Blue Hair's condition at this moment was indeed true. His body, having taken several hits earlier, that was already near its limit, although he learned the details of the contract on him. That the situation now was still bad. However, Blue Hair actually had method. He could instantly recover his combat power and solve the predicament in front of him. But as soon as this thought emerged, the figure of a man couldn't help but surface in his memory. That man had once placed a seal on his body and said, if you want to unseal your power and turn back to your original form, this nail will pierce your heart. At that time, your life will welcome a true end. But thinking of this, Blue Hair remembered sentence Yulia had said. Low-level causality cannot interfere with high-level causality. And his sharing of life with Yulia now was all thanks to Yulia's holy relic necklace. Since that's the case, he had a bold idea to gamble on. In an instant, Blue Hair no longer engaged in battle, but flew backward. Seeing this, Rylot laughed amidst his surprise. Even you would run away? I truly feel sad for you. Can you hear it? The blood of the king of demons is weeping. But in the next second, Blue Hair's figure suddenly emitted fire. At this moment, Blue Hair's target was not anyone else, but the book hero he had casually thrown down earlier. Immediately, Blue Hair bit the book hero's neck. In an instant, fresh blood rushed into his throat and was swallowed by Blue Hair. Seeing this, Rylot seemed to think of something bad. On the other side, Blue Hair's heartbeat accelerated rapidly after drinking the blood. Immediately after, an unparalleled power boiled within him. Seeing this, the holy relic pendant before Yulia lit up at the same time. This is bad. Yulia knew she couldn't quite keep up with the development of things now. And at this moment, the pressure on Blue Hair was still increasing. Rylot on the side whispered he shouldn't be able to turn back to that form. But if he found a way, it's even more troublesome. Instantly, Rylot's figure dissipated, and he turned back into the appearance of Straw Hat Guy. Whatever, let's slip away first. Straw Hat Guy picked up the book hero thrown aside by Blue Hair and already greased the soles of his feet. At the same time, in Blue Hair's memory, images of him being defeated by Yulia and that man constantly emerged. That humiliation had always weighed on his heart. But according to his guests, these would soon be past tense, because he was about to regain his due power. And at that time, he would kill the two he hated the most. In an instant, the nail-piercing blue hair's heart shattered. He gambled correctly. His contract with Yulia was higher than the prohibition that man set for him. That prohibition couldn't take away his life, which was strengthened by the contract. Power returned. How miserable is someone who reached the peak of life but fell down again. This man was once the ancient demon ancestor standing at the ceiling of combat power. In his life, he had only lost twice, but it was these 2 times that deepened his seal, turning him from a powerful demon ancestor into the current waste. However, heaven never bars one's way. He discovered that the seals left on his body from the 2 defeats were actually mutually exclusive. When he was defeated the first time, that the opponent left a prohibition beside his heart and sealed part of his strength. As long as he used his full strength to restore his demon form, he would be pierced in the heart by the nail formed by the prohibition and die. And the second time he was defeated, he was signed into a contract where if the other party lost their life, he would also lose his life. But he later discovered that this contract was a special life-sharing contract. If he lost his life, the other party would also lose their life. And the problem lay here. The efficiency of the contract he signed the second time was far higher than the prohibition beside his heart. Therefore, when he tried to restore his strength and was about to be pierced in the heart by the nail, the second contract instinctively protected him to prevent him from implicating the host, actually blocking the first prohibition. And in this instant, the first prohibition binding him shattered. His sealed strength was completely liberated at this moment. So next, as long as he finds out what exactly the contract he signed with Yulia is and dissolves it, he can fully restore his free body. At this moment, looking at Yulia, Blue Hair knew that according to the contract, he couldn't harm Yulia now. Not to mention, even the current him couldn't beat Yulia at her peak strength. So next, while continuing to search for the spell, I also have to find this guy's weakness. At this time, even though the aura on Blue Hair was frighteningly strong and he held considerable hostility towards her, Yulia acted like nothing was wrong, constantly sizing up Blue Hair. Your appearance seems to have changed quite a bit. Iris also lamented, I didn't expect demons could transform. Although your aura is strong, it's still a little bit worse than mine. Although his mouth was tough, Iris still honestly hid behind a tree while saying this. Actually, this is my original form. I only become like this when fighting. When horns appear on my head, is that also when I fully exert my strength? Yulia didn't feel that Blue Hair was much stronger now than before. Anyway, you figured out. I'm gonna go finish off those few heroes. But I say, they ran away long ago. Hearing this, Blue Hair was stunned. Then, as the crisis lifted, he returned to the state where his strength was sealed without a temper. And at this time, a fox appeared behind everyone. Looking at that somewhat familiar appearance, Iris said, he seems to be the nine-tailed fox, Halila. Blue Hair also knew that the nine-tailed fox lost his power after helping him. He just didn't expect that after losing power, he would really turn into an ordinary fox. So what should we do now? Our initial purpose for coming here was to find the king's tomb. Although now we have an additional task of helping the nine-tailed fox find the fox bead. But according to intelligence, the king's tomb floats above the clouds. This distance that cannot be reached by ordinary flight alone. And even if I turn into a bat and can fly, Yulia has no way to go up. But just as Blue Hair sighed, a bird suddenly said, I might have a way. Although humans collectively call us the demon race, different races also have different abilities. Hearing this, Blue Hair nodded. He couldn't help but look at Yulia. What race are you? Yulia said righteously, I am me. This made Blue Hair numb. A bird added, I am a minority from the border region, and my ability is to make things on the ground float. Just like that time I flew with Lord Yulia, and I should be able to send you above the clouds. But the problem is I can only send 2 people up. Hearing this, Blue Hair and Yulia looked at each other. Then Blue Hair looked at a bird again. Don't you have to be with us when you use your ability? Yes, my intention was also to send you 2 up. Iris added, I can sit on them. That way the 3 of us can go up. Hearing this, Blue Hair had no objection. Then while we go there to retrieve the Rui bead, Halila, I'll trouble you to look after him. As for the slave contract on you, we will also think of a way to find a solution. since instructions are given. Do you have anything else to prepare? Aberge shook his head, indicating he could send a few people up at any time. But at this time, Iris asked again, then if there's nothing after we go up, what then? And how do we come down? Aberge indicated that if there was nothing, he would be powerless to bring them down again, because just sending them up would deplete his magic power. Yulia was open-minded. Anyway, we shouldn't lose our lives. Let's just set off. For a moment, Aberge pressed Yulia's shoulder, saying his ability activates as long as he touches someone. So thinking of Blue Hair's terrifying strength, Aberge asked in a low voice, "May I touch your shoulder? Don't mind these small details. Since that's the case, I wish you all a smooth journey." In an instant, the two floated in midair out of nowhere and steadily climbed upwards. Yulia just wanted to say this method felt quite nice. Soon, everyone had reached a height where mountains looked small. The rare leisure time made Yulia doze off. Quite a few strange things happened recently. By the way, Iris asked, who were those people who attacked us? Blue Hair answered, humans. Then why did they attack me? Precisely because they are humans. This answer made the group powerless. Anyway, the truth will come to light sooner or later. As night fell, the group's pupils finally constricted as they rose above the clouds. And right before their eyes was the floating ancient capital. Feels like it's not as magnificent as imagined. After all, this was the level of humans thousands of years ago. Makes sense. In the next second, Yulia's voice dragged out rapidly from below. She fell out of thin air. Fortunately, Blue Hair and Iris held onto her tightly. They understood. This was because Aberge's magic power ran out. So, having dragged Yulia to the floating city with great difficulty. Clearly 2 people exerted effort, but 3 collapsed from exhaustion. And Yulia looked at the ancient city before her, saying, really wonderful. It clearly looks like no one is here. It gives me a feeling full of vitality. I feel like something strange is going to happen again. So next year. No. Second, Blue Hair and Iris disappeared into thin air. Only Yulia remained on the spot. I knew it would be like this. For a moment, a great fire ignited around, surrounding Yulia. A man and a girl came to the abandoned royal capital to search for treasure. However, sensing the unusual atmosphere around, the girl said she felt something bad was going to happen. Sure enough, as soon as the voice fell, the girl mysteriously disappeared. Only the man remained on the spot. While the man looked around, not yet understanding what was happening, that a person suddenly appeared behind the man. Even without looking back, sensing that familiar aura, Blue Hair recognized the man. It was precisely the human king from 2,000 years ago. Long time no see. You traitor of the demon race. Blue Hair said, as if he had expected it. One of his purposes for coming here to explore for treasure was precisely to see the human king before him. Hearing the word traitor, the human king frowned. You still haven't understood what I did back then. Understand what? Understand you piercing a nail into my heart? But what a pity. That nail has already been pulled out by me. After speaking, the air between the two instantly became quiet. But this time, mist swirled and illusions appeared around again. Among them was the image of Blue Hair preparing to lead the demon race to attack the human race 2,000 years ago. But interestingly, at this critical moment, a woman was quite annoyed with the bossy Blue Hair. Clearly a nobody who hasn't even held a coming-of-age ceremony. Hearing this, a companion on the side hurriedly stopped her. She still understood the principle that trouble comes from the mouth. Don't mind these small details. Look around. Under his leadership, our demon race is unprecedented, gathering so many at once. But isn't the method to achieve this effect too extreme? Moreover, we are about to go to war with Ragerat. Anyway, don't think too much. After this battle, our demon race will rule the world. Watching the scenes of the past constantly appear, Blue Hair smiled. It's all full of memories, isn't it? The human king just asked, why did you hate humans so much back then? Although the war Blue Hair started back then was lost, I still want to ask this question now. Before you started the war and went on a killing spree, it was also your first time seeing humans, wasn't it? Why would you hate these guys you've never met? I say, you've got it completely wrong. How could I start a war because of hatred or whatever? My reason was just because I was bored. Blue Hair said indifferently. The air fell silent. However, I'm no longer interested in these things now. On the contrary, other things have attracted my attention. But the human king indeed said, although I cannot know what happened after I passed away. But under the leadership of your twisted ideology, the entire race has been pushed towards destruction. And it is because of this that you came to find me, right? That's right. Apart from me, there are no remaining clansmen left, because they all lost their lives. However, the guys who could drive us to a dead end were not the humans you love. But speaking of which, how long are we going to talk about this kind of nutritious conversation? This question should be asked to you. People who come here, that will see what they want to see. Your companions are also like this at this moment. And that you could come here and see me is also because you wanted to. Although I don't know why you, who has nothing to say to me, wanted to see me. But if you really have nothing to say, it doesn't matter. Because I am about to return to the grave. Seeing the mist rising and the human king about to disappear, Blue Hair said, "Before you leave, I do have something to say. By the way, with what thought did you build this king's tomb for yourself? Was it to prove that you're already dead? And what is this clone appearing in front of me? But no matter what, do you, conversing with me at this moment, all think that you have already lost your life? But unfortunately, I know you're still alive. But it doesn't matter, because soon I will take your life. So before that, don't die at someone else's hands." My father. As the voice fell, Blue Hair gradually woke up. Appearing in front of him was precisely Yulia. Yulia said, "Because you suddenly couldn't wake up, Iris took action on you." Iris hurriedly retorted. Clearly Yulia hit harder. Although he didn't understand the situation, Blue Hair just wanted to say, "Why do my cheeks feel burning hot?" When a character in a comic knows he is the protagonist. Skipping to the sky arena where there's a way up, but no way down, I'll just go up. Since I'm the protagonist, even if I fall, I won't die. Walking into a maze, encountering a weird window that won't open, I'll just smash it with a rock. See what tricks you have. A rope looks like a trap, looks like it shouldn't be pulled. I insist on pulling it to verify, personally. And so, it really was a trap. Just now, after Yulia and the others finished watching the illusions, somehow, that they entered the interior of the king's tomb. Although the group came here to find treasure, Yulia was still a bit curious about how they got in, because she saw neither an entrance nor an exit here. And it felt a bit scary what's going on. Iris hurriedly comforted, saying he heard others talk about things in the king's tomb. It seems there aren't any scary things. It's just that there will always be a feeling of being followed, and inexplicable footsteps and such manifestations. But Blue Hair realized that they might have stepped into a different space, similar to the Silent Forest. And at this time, Yulia noticed a passage actually appeared on the wall ahead. She hurriedly walked forward and said, "Look quickly. There are actually humans outside the window." Blue Hair, is it possible for humans to live in a different dimension? Something was wrong, but when she came to the window, those were indeed humans outside. Yulia tried to open the window, but found it impossible to do so. Blue Hair wanted to warn her that this window might be reinforced, and she'd better be careful. But before he could finish, Yulia had obtained a stone from somewhere. Then she aimed it at the window. The next second, the sound of shattering glass rang out. Yulia simply said, "It seems the exit isn't here. But how do we handle this place? Shouldn't they give us some exit hints?" But before Yulia could complain further, a strange noise rang out from behind her. The next second, countless skeleton soldiers appeared from the window. Matters seemed to have become complicated, so they hid in a narrow alley. After confirming no one was around, the group walked out hesitantly. "I didn't expect there to be things like skeletons here. It's so scary. Shall we go back along the route we came?" Iris suggested, but felt it might be useless. After speaking, Blue Hair met Yulia's gaze, which seemed to ask why. But thinking of Yulia's brain, Blue Hair sighed. "I wanted to explain to you just now, but suddenly I'm too lazy to say it." Yulia was just about to say, "You guy," but Blue Hair seemed to sense something. The next second, he said, "I sense a breeze blowing past. It seems to be coming from that direction. Since that's the case, let's head that way." Yulia didn't have much of a brain and didn't think much of it. Only on the way, Yulia suddenly thought of something. She hadn't eaten her favorite green pears for a long time. Iris asked, "Why did you suddenly think of such a thing?" "Because if I don't eat a green pear for a week, I will die. My heart will stop beating out of sadness." Hearing this, Blue Hair felt numb. "Right now, I share a life with you. Don't joke about this kind of thing with me." Just then, passing a corner, Yulia's gaze paused. A depression suddenly appeared in front of them, along with a rope. Yulia wanted to ask what this meant. Blue Hair was just about to say this was obviously a trap, but before he could speak, Yulia had already shouted, "I should pull it," and rushed forward. "I say, are you an idiot? This is obviously..." But before he could finish, Yulia had already pulled the rope in her hand, and so it really was a mechanism. In an instant, only Blue Hair's impotent roar could be heard. I say, does this guy have the IQ of a fish? Why would you want to pull that rope? But it was too late to say anything now. However, unexpectedly, beneath the trap, there was actually a huge cushion laid out. When Yulia recovered, she saw a cleanly swept room. It actually appeared before her eyes. Unexpectedly, below the trap, it looked like someone was living there. Iris was also somewhat surprised. Blue hair, however, was doubtful. Listen, there seems to be some sound around. It sounds like flowing water. So there's a waterfall? Iris indicated it was possible. Since that's the case, let's go take a look. But as the group walked forward, mist rose from splashing water. Inside a place that looked like a bath towel was hanging there. And behind the bath towel, a figure was moving. Seeing this, Yulia was shocked. She hurriedly whispered, "Good heavens, does this count as peeping? And what is that thing? Is it human?" Iris, meanwhile, recalled something his human companions had once said. When they were exploring the king's tomb, they would always hear creaking sounds. It also felt like being watched. So they guessed that things like ghosts must exist in the king's tomb. So is this guy a ghost? Hearing this, Blue Hair felt numb. Ignoring the two paranoid ones, he said, "Although I've seen living corpses, I've never seen a ghost. It's probably some kind of demon." Saying that, he was about to go forward to investigate. But Yulia and Iris hurriedly stopped him. The two of them weren't ready yet. Just then, the guy behind the bath towel seemed to notice them. And at this moment, the water in the bathroom stopped. The air suddenly went quiet, just as the atmosphere became awkward. The next second, with a swishing sound, the bath towel was pulled open. A skeleton actually appeared before everyone's eyes. Iris, that was already jumping up and down in fright, shouting "Ghost!" uncontrollably. Yulia, on the other hand, stood obediently behind Blue Hair. "So, my name is Dew. How should I address you?" This woman wet her hair, put on a long robe, and came alone to a dark place. This was the preparation that must be done before meeting the wise men living in this place. Seeing the woman arrive, someone in the darkness asked the visitor's intent. The woman whispered that she wanted to understand some things that only the wise men would know. But amidst a light chuckle, that voice said, "I won't casually satisfy a person's request, unless your reason seems interesting enough to me. So what is the purpose of you understanding the intelligence I hold? What do you want to do after knowing it? Because this is intelligence necessary to avenge my companions." The woman's face darkened for a moment. In the darkness, a person lifted an oil lamp. Seeing the smoke rising, he said, "For companions? Very well, this reason is not bad. However, I roughly understand your purpose for coming here. Since that's the case, let me tell you other stories first. Long ago, after the human king of humanity passed away, the human race and the demon race went to war again. At that time, people thought the war would end very quickly, because before the human king passed away, that he had already mostly exterminated the demon race. They were just cleaning up some remnants. But holding such thoughts, just as the humans gathered a great army to flatten the demon territory, something unexpected happened. Fire descended from the sky. The guy called the Demon King made his entrance. Merely his arrival annihilated all life near the landing point. Not a trace was left behind. Of course, that included the human army crusading against the demons. But speaking of this, do you know what the Demon King is? Anna brushed her hair back. She had only learned knowledge on how to kill demons. Regarding the Demon King, she only knew knowledge like he seems to be the king of demons and a bad guy. But the truth is actually not like that. The Demon King is not the king of the demon race. The king of the demon race was defeated by the human king a long time ago. Furthermore, the Demon King has nothing to do with the demon race. The demon race certainly wouldn't listen to the Demon King's command. Otherwise, how could the human race still be safe and sound until now? So the Demon King is another monster of unknown race, right? His range of activity just happened to overlap with the demon race, becoming a shield for the demon race in front of the human race. Therefore, to exterminate the demon race, the Demon King became an existence the human race had to defeat. And the battle began like this and has continued to this day, lasting for more than 2,000 years. Seeing Anna's expression wavering uncertainly, the man didn't mind. It's normal for you to have doubts. After all, this happened a long time ago. But what Anna was thinking at this moment was, when can you answer the things I want to ask? Seeming to see through Anna's thoughts, the man smiled. Don't rush. This is necessary preparation before answering your question. Besides the human race disliking the Demon King, other existences felt the same. Shortly after the Demon King descended, the merfolk, who held a ruling status among the Deep Sea clan living in the deep ocean, upon hearing news of the Demon King, stepped on a land one after another to fight him. Although, regarding why they had such strong hostility towards the Demon King, this question I also don't quite understand. But this question is unimportant now, because from the moment the mermaid race stepped on a land, that the mermaids all lost their lives. You came here to ask about the Sea King, right? Although I don't know who he is, he should also be one of those mermaids who went ashore that day and lost their lives. So, are you satisfied with this answer? Anna was shocked. Can you be sure? I merely told the story I know. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. Anna just felt her scalp go numb. Whether it was the Deep Sea clan or mermaids, hearing that life existed in the deep sea, it was her first time hearing it. Before coming, she only knew she wanted revenge for her companions, and it seemed related to mermaids. But she didn't expect the backstory to be so horrifying. Such things were quite common in the past, but it changed after the Demon King appeared. Because ever since then, the Deep Sea clan could no longer come to the surface, because they were cursed. Hearing this, Anna understood the whole story. She also knew that the mermaid race seemed impossible to count on. Immediately, she expressed her thanks and prepared to leave. However, before leaving, Anna asked, then, is there still a Sea King in the ocean now who isn't a mermaid race existence? Of course not. Didn't I say? The mermaids have all lost their lives. If another mermaid was born in the deep sea and became the Sea King, staying far away from him would be the wise move, because he is very likely a madman. Hearing this, Anna bowed, seemingly understanding yet not, and left. However, after Anna left, the man whispered, but if it's a specious mermaid? That's hard to say. Update notice. We are one step away from the Demon King. I've already received a licensing reminder. Subsequent paid chapters cannot be unlocked, so updates are tentatively paused. However, as the last episode has explosive information volume, let me summarize the story plot for everyone. Roughly a long time ago, humans and demons existed on land. A strong individual among the demons, Laglad, liked the human race, so he hid his identity and became the Human King. And his son, Blue Hair, commanded the demon race, becoming the king of the demon race. Because of his extreme personality, Blue Hair led the demon race to war with the human race just out of boredom. Then he was pressed to the ground and frantically rubbed by his old dad. The demons under him were also exterminated. But because the son was his own flesh and blood, the Human King didn't kill him. He only left a restriction on his son, sealing a portion of Blue Hair's power. After this, for some reason, although the Human King was a demon, he died of old age. Then he built a king's tomb for himself and put a divine artifact, the Demon Slayer's sword, inside to prevent the demon race from making a comeback later, so the human race would have the power to fight when the time came. Then, after the Human King died, humans launched a war to exterminate the demon race. But just as the great army gathered, a powerful creature descended from the sky and wiped the human race clean. Because of its great power and its location in the demon territory, the human race misunderstood it as the Demon King. Actually, I think this should be an otherworldly creature, just like the nine-tailed fox came from another world. And so, the powerful descent of the Demon King. That also started a karma. That is, for such a powerful existence to be exterminated. But there must be an ending that fits its status. That is, it must be exterminated by a powerful hero born from humanity. So the first human hero, Walla, was born. But Walla failed in the battle against the Demon King. This karma therefore did not end, but was passed down, causing heroes to be constantly produced among the human race, constantly challenging the Demon King. This has continued for more than 2,000 years until now. And besides the human race, the Deep Sea clan in the ocean also wanted to challenge the Demon King when he descended, but they were cursed and died as soon as they went ashore. Later, the Deep Sea clan could no longer come to land, but Yulia, as the later king of the sea, used the holy relic necklace to purify her legs, stopped breaking the curse, and coming to land, wanting to challenge the Demon King to see who is the true king under the heavens. But unexpectedly, after going ashore, Yulia's power was sealed and she became a useless person. Moreover, she was destitute and only wanted to make money every day. She happened to meet Wuss. They wanted to go to the king's tomb to find treasure, so she followed along. She also met Blue Hair here. Blue Hair was in the tomb at the time, probably like Iris, looking for the demon slayer sword left by the human king, to then go solve that demon king. Because in the previous episodes, the dialogue between Blue Hair and the human king mentioned that the demon king seemed to have already exterminated the other demons besides Blue Hair. Then, the first time Blue Hair saw Yulia, he saw Yulia's power. He attacked first to gain the upper hand and killed Yulia. Unexpectedly, this instead unsealed Yulia's power, and he was defeated and tamed by Yulia. This is what allowed the whole story to begin. Of course, the above is all the grand background of the story. There are many pits buried by the author within it. The biggest one is Straw Hat Guy in the Silent Forest. After solving the fallen elves in the Silent Forest, everyone was sent out of the Silent Forest by the elves. At this time, they left in the order they came. The first to leave was Straw Hat Guy. After that was the hero from 2,000 years ago, Walla. That is to say, Straw Hat Guy existed even before Walla. Furthermore, in the plot where Blue Hair rubbed the book-wielding hero, Straw Hat Guy also appeared. This shows this guy has actually lived for thousands of years, living until now. Not only that, I omitted a part of the plot. That is, Straw Hat Guy once also went to different other worlds, and his interest is to understand all things in the world. But this guy is a huge pit. It can be seen that he is collecting the corpses of heroes from different eras. He looks like a villain. Secondly, in the last episode, this storyteller should also be Straw Hat Guy. Although the human faces drawn by the author are all similar, combining the fact that this guy knows many things shouldn't be far off. But the strangeness lies here. Anna, who came to ask questions, is Wuss's companion. Wuss was killed by the book-wielding hero under Straw Hat Guy. And now, Anna has come to inquire about intelligence without knowing the details. That is to say, this guy seems to play both sides. He has two identities. I hunt heroes, and I secretly help the people I hunt. Anyway, the pit is huge. So to summarize, the author is a Riddler, digging pits everywhere, yet it's very interesting. It always makes people want to see what kind of medicine he is selling. It's just that addictive. And now the licensing has reached its limit. I can only do free chapters. Future updates are tentatively paused. When there are more free ones, I'll release a compilation then to help everyone recall the plot before doing the later parts. Otherwise, sometimes doing a bit of filler won't accomplish much content. That's it. Thank you everyone for your support all along.